Hello and welcome to the HCL Digital Experience Summer 2021 launch. Our summer release continues our focus on delivering impactful digital experiences to your customers and your employees. We have all seen over the last 12 to 18 months a wave of digital disruption that has changed the expectations of our customers and our employees. What used to be wants, like meeting from home or like video meetings, these are not wants anymore. These are needs for all. And with this wave of digital disruption, we are confident with our latest release of Digital Experience, we are positioned to partner with our customers on their digital journey. I would also like to acknowledge the DX team and how they stayed focused and delivered while trying to balance work and home like never before. And as a team, they rose to the occasion and have delivered our best release in years. Thank you again, and we really hope that you enjoy the HCL Digital Experience Summer 2021 launch. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. We're ready to bring you a full agenda of business and technical content, as you can see here. But we're also going to be sharing our North Star, our product vision, for how we're reimagining the DXP platform for digital leaders like yourselves. Today, joining me are David Strachan, our head of DX development, Mike Rowe, who's our lead DX product manager, and myself, Andrew Manby, I head up digital solutions product management. So let's begin. As I say, anyone can build a website these days. And with HCL DX, it's more than that. It is a trusted DXP that integrates an organization's processes, content, and applications securely into a personalized experience behind the login. Our North Star for the DX platform is to be the trusted solution for enterprises' digital experience at the intersection of processes, content, and applications built cloud native. This means seamlessly combining digital content, complex business applications, the ones that you own and the ones that you want to create, and those digitized business processes easily, done all securely via authenticated access on a cloud platform that scales to meet the needs of your business. In this section of the presentation today, you will hear about that innovative approach from David and Mike. HCL DX is delivering real business outcomes for its customers, from millions of dollars in savings by connecting systems and processes to 24% growth in revenue by delivering richer and more personalized experiences. DX is helping organizations achieve their digital transformation goals. I think the results speak for themselves. When you capitalize on the power of DX, you can create richer, more personalized and contextualized experiences to start building trust with your customers, your citizens, your business partners, and employees in ways that drive meaningful results. So let me summarize our value proposition. It's more than creating websites. We know that integrating an organization's data, apps, and systems and processes is hard. And with DX, we provide multiple ways to easily bring your data, applications, and processes together seamlessly behind the login. Plus, DX has the integration with the capabilities that enrich your customer's experience through a DXP ecosystem, whether it's commerce, MarTech, CTP, for example. Next, we keep your data private. Every organization needs to protect the privacy of their personal data. DX has role-based and customized security built into its DNA. It's how government agencies, for example, make sure the right services, benefits, and claims are kept safe and specific and always available, ready for the future and a cloud of your choice. HCL DX's cloud-native platform and our strategy, as you will hear, gives our customers choice, whether it's on-prem, hybrid, or a cloud of their choice. So you can easily choose how to deploy and elastically scale with demand without wasting resources on intensive and high-cost development approaches. Lastly, we supercharge developers and marketers. We can help organizations bring their digital strategy to life. We enable developers to extend and create new headless apps, unlock existing content and processes, and reduce their time to market. DX also powers marketers and content owners as well. We provided new drag and drop tools to empower teams to create and manage sites and pages without calling IT. Plus, with integrations with Unica, Discover, and Google Analytics, you can get deep insights into how to improve your conversion rates. So now let's talk about our strategy. Our goal is to be the #1 business-critical digital experience platform. Our strategic investments are in 4 areas across our roadmap. Firstly, DXP. We want to continue to strengthen how we deliver business-critical solutions for authenticated and anonymous use cases. We want to ensure that we can deliver better engagement with real-time, data-driven personalization and insight from journey analytics. And we also want to provide or enable participation and accountability for outcomes across content and software delivery lifecycles for both business and IT teams, from design to development, from DevOps, from CI/CD, the full development lifecycle. And we also want to bring velocity to content and also governance. Another key part of our strategy is the composition platform. In our vision, we want to converge some of the capabilities of our low-code platform, VaultMX, and DXP together to accelerate the creation of new digital experiences, apps, and integration without limits, as well as orchestrating processes graphically. Our goal here is to reduce the friction by delivering consistent, branded, omnichannel experiences. And by using our low-code platform, we can add native mobile to wearables to IoT, in addition to our traditional DXP supported channels. We want to ensure the business and IT developers can participate in shaping all digital experiences, whether they're apps, processes, or content, and making sure we have the power for the business users, whether they are business users creating forms or they're professional developers creating apps or integrations. HCL has a rich software portfolio. We plan to continually integrate the DXP across our HCL software portfolio and third-party ecosystems to provide a richer data-driven customer experience. Also, we want to make sure there's relevant customer engagement and we identify key moments of truth using insight across the whole customer journey. As you can see here, whether it's profiling, segmentation, or analytics, or journey management, by integrating with these key technologies, we can provide those insights to you much more easily. And last but no means least, being cloud native. Our whole strategy here is about choice and making sure that you can build the customized solution that you need to differentiate your business without being constrained by a single cloud multi-tenant solution. So with that, I'd like to hand over to David Strachan. He's going to take you through bringing this vision to life. Over to you, David.
Thanks very much, Andrew. I'm very excited as the engineering leader for DX to give you some insight now into the future technology platform roadmap for the product, what that's going to mean for our customers' users, and also some more specifics about the actual items that we're going to be delivering in the future. Let's start from the position that many of you will start, that is from your end users. And let's consider the kind of solutions that our customers build for their users. Our customers deliver a wide variety of applications, such as online shopping, supply chain portals, employee intranets, field service apps. These are all things that are characterized by the combination of content, processes, and applications into something which is specific to the end user who's actually accessing them. Very many of our customers deliver multiple such experiences on our platforms in some kind of total customer experience, you might say. Now, in one respect, this is not a new problem. It's something that we've been doing for a very long time. But we have new capabilities in the HCL software portfolio, which mean that we're able to take this to the next level. So let's consider how these experiences get put together. Around this set of customer experiences, we have something which we're calling the composition platform. There are 2 portions to the composition platform. There are end user tools and there are technical integration capabilities. Let's consider the first one first. End user tools. We have a new capability coming out just about now, which you're going to hear more about through this event, called Design Studio, which is a complete rebuild of our website creation capabilities, decoupled from the content that underpins it, with a focus on the designer and on the end user. It's a complete revamp of our capabilities in that space. Of course, web is no longer as central to customer experience as it once was, but it's still very, very important and still a capability we absolutely have to have. On the other side, we have low-code builder. This is capability that we have acquired from the VaultMX portfolio, which allows our customers' developers to rapidly create applications mobile applications or web applications that can be built into the websites produced by Design Studio or indeed standalone. We have a forms capability in a product called Volt Business, which allows our customers' business users to rapidly create data acquisition forms. And our goal is to integrate those sets of tools to permit round-trip editing scenarios and a really fully integrated platform. Now, underpinning all of that, we've got a set of technical integration capabilities. API management to enable our customers to connect to their back-end systems, orchestration so that those can be sequenced properly. We're opening up the events that naturally occur inside of these different products so that they are more accessible and open, so that you can trigger your own processing based on those events, leveraging open standards like cloud events as well. And of course, device management and device detection capabilities to reflect the channels that the experiences are served up on. Now, around this composition platform, we arrange a suite of modules. This isn't an exhaustive list of all of the modules that you could get from HCL, but the idea here is to indicate that our software platform is becoming increasingly modular. So whether that's technical capabilities like authentication and security, whether that's pieces which are broken out of our existing DXP like content or asset management or workflow or search, whether that is capabilities that are available in other parts of the HCL portfolio like commerce or campaigns or analytics. The idea is that these modules are available to be composed together with the composition platform into whatever kind of customer experience that you are building. Now, this wouldn't work very well if it was a closed and monolithic platform. And so we allow for, especially through the event mechanism, extensibility and third-party extensions to be added to the platform. So for example, if you don't like the way our image processing works, you could build your own extensions, perhaps using something serverless, for example, for something stateless like that, to listen for the image processing event and execute your own capabilities. And that provides for an ecosystem and marketplace of extensions that can enrich this platform. We're going to provide hook points for all the major events in the platform, and for DX customers, that will also include portability for your existing applications and content, such as portlets to go and run alongside new ones that you might create in other programming technologies. And then finally, a word on deployment. All of these capabilities are moving into the HCL SOFE platform. That allows you to deploy these capabilities anywhere, whether in a managed service, whether in your own data center, or in the cloud. And of course, pricing metrics underpin this to make this a truly accessible and consumable platform. So that's the theory. Let's consider what this might look like in practice. This is a fictional scenario, I will say, but it is pretty representative of the kind of thing that our customers do and the kind of industries that we find our customers in. So in this case, our fictional scenario is a company called Verbena Healthcare. Traditional insurer has typically, in this case, we're talking about dental insurance, and it's typically interacted with a network of dentists and with retail partners rather than directly with its end customers. But what they're looking to do is to transform that customer experience model from being one which is purely centered on their value chain to one which also includes customers within it, so as to both increase the health of those, or the dental health of those customers, and increase those customers' loyalty. You could see this as a kind of total customer experience model. So firstly, let's consider what they build with our platform here. So here we see again the end user in the center of the diagram, and now specific to Verbena around that, we have the things that we might have seen many times. We've got a website at the bottom left there. We've got a mobile app at the top right there. We also have kiosks in the dentist surgeries and wearables around that. And then finally, at the top left, we've got intelligent offers underpinning this, so that when you are accessing these different channels, the offers are targeted to your situation and needs. So that's the kind of thing that we're going to build with this platform. There are many roles that are underpinning this. And what I want to do just now is just take a narrow slice across 2 or 3 of them to explain how the composition platform changes what would previously have been separate siloed development of those different channels. So the first person we're going to consider is Camille. Now, Camille is the marketer, and she's initially focused on the creation of the website, traditionally for DXP. One of the things that Design Studio brings is the ability to have the designer work right in the Design Studio and upload their design system. And that's going to be built using content that she creates in the in the content management system, and she's going to link it into her pre-existing segmentation so that when their outbound marketing goes and speaks to their customers, brings them to the site, they then see relevant offers within that site. However, Camille is not a developer, and she's not able to build the whole thing herself. So within our tooling platform, she hands it off to Fran, who is actually a proper full stack developer, but she's going to work within our low code development tool because she finds that convenient and easy to use. So Fran in this case, builds, in this case, a toothbrush sales app. She reuses content that Camille has already created in the content management system, and she reuses content APIs that are made available via the composition platform. Fran publishes this app back to the website that Camille was building, but also as a standalone app, because that's what's required for the total customer experience. Lastly, a third character could play in this little drama, Brian. Now, Brian isn't using our low-code tools. Brian is actually working with the device partners that Verbena has, and he's building custom applications that react to the events that are produced by the platform, so that when toothbrush sales, in this case, happen within the toothbrush sales app, other activities within those device partner systems, such as device activation, can take place. And he's doing that based upon our event-driven architecture and writing in the tools and technologies that are appropriate to doing that. So that's the end-to-end story enabled by the composition platform. Let's take a look now at where we're going to go with this in practical terms for our products. So we organize the capability into 3 time horizons: later this year, and then spring and fall next year. There are 3 functional strands to our roadmap, and I'm not going to go into every item in detail, but just give you the flavor of what we're doing in each of those strands. The first strand is all about our non-technical users, marketers, content owners, designers, and about giving them power to manage the customer experience across all the different touchpoints. A lot of that is going to come through enhancements and development of the design studio capability that I already mentioned, including the round-trip editing with our low-code tools, design systems, pattern libraries, and other capabilities in Design Studio, but also things like governance or improved governance, workflow, notification capabilities, building on the capabilities that HCL DX already has, of course. The second strand is all about the infrastructure. So right now we're engaged in a transition from an operator to Helm. We're going to be enabling an externally facing Docker repository for making that deployment altogether more convenient, and then modularizing the product as we go through the next couple of years. And then finally, the bottom strand is all about the developer. Increasing the suite of APIs, moving from perhaps some of our more Atom feed or Java APIs into REST APIs, allowing greater extensibility of the product, delivering the event-driven architecture that I have been talking about again a couple of times in the past couple of slides. And then finally integrating into the Foundry platform, which provides for extensive orchestration and connectivity capabilities for enriching your applications. So that's our overall roadmap. Now I'd like to hand it over to Mike Rowe, who's going to talk about what we are delivering right now.
All right, thanks, David. So over the course, the last time that you saw us here at a launch event, back in December, to now, we've been quite busy, and I just wanted to highlight some of the things that we're actually delivering kind of in 3 different areas. So the first area I wanted to touch on is the tooling. So giving essentially the marketers, the authors, additional tooling to go through the practitioner experience in a more effective way. So the first is, something that David has mentioned, the Design Studio. This is very exciting new tool, a UI that actually allows for the visual assembly of anything relative to your content, your site, your page, or even components within the site, essentially replacing the need to have development intervention in creating the presentation templates, theme artifacts, and things of that nature. It's quite exciting. We're delivering the preview of that with this release, and are actively looking for feedback and enhancing the product as we move into a production deployment. So next is the theme editor. So this actually, delivers the capability of being able to make quick branding and theme-related changes without the need to go through a full software development lifecycle. This one's quite exciting, quite easy to make changes across the entirety of your digital experience as needed to any of your themes and get out the gate very quick. The next thing that we wanted to highlight here is the digital asset manager capabilities relative to being able to understand how these assets are being deployed and used across one to many sites. So ultimately, a way to have an understanding of where is that content being used, where is that asset being used, and what downstream effects might actually be taking place by making an edit, deleting an asset, versioning a new version of an asset, and things of that nature. So you have some understanding of the kind of referential relationship between the pages that are consuming the assets and the assets themselves. We're also taking steps to improve the lifecycle management capabilities. In this case, offering new capabilities around being able to tag and mark up the content that you're managing throughout its life, and irrespective of the workflow stage that it's being edited within. And this giving the first introduction of some of the more collaborative capabilities that you're going to see coming down the pipe, relative to our roadmap for the content creation and curation type of process. So next, we also introduced Unica Discover configurability right out of the box. Unica Discover, if you're not familiar, provides a number of analytic capabilities relative to the user of the site, to the journey that that user is taking, and some reporting capabilities to understand what those users are doing, and even provide some eventing and real-time feedback back into the platform so that you can use that for personalization and targeting capabilities that are already native to the platform. This is quite interesting, and it's going to be very, very nice to see how that evolves. And ultimately, it's going to provide quite a lot of necessary analysis into the platform that we have not had to date. So, and last, we spent a lot of time and wanted to enhance the multilingual functionality in the platform. This comes in a couple of forms. We're trying to allow for a much improved deployment of the multilingual solution, a much improved kind of management of that solution once deployed, and then also some UI tooling that allows for the switching between the various languages that you're going to be supporting, ultimately allowing for the preview and the actual consumer version of the site to just be able to select which language you're going to want to display. For the developers, we have introduced a new DX client. DX client provides some automation capabilities to the software development lifecycle and some sample pipelines to bolt onto your digital experience deployments. These pipelines cover a great deal of day-to-day activities for the application development and deployment process, and it's quite a useful tool that we should definitely see some continual evolution on here for the next few months. Are adding capabilities on a very frequent clip. We've introduced somewhere upwards of 200 new APIs just in this next release, ultimately giving a lot of power and customization capabilities to anything, the authoring requirements that you might have or customizations that you might need to that process, to the way that those content and assets on the site are able to be rendered both headlessly and head optionally, and in your traditional DX front-end deployments. We'll see over the next few months many more new APIs being added to the mix. This is something to definitely be paying attention to as we're putting out supplemental releases. Very, very exciting, some of the capabilities being delivered in this area. The progressive web application support. Now that we have initially kind of deployed digital experience with kind of a native PWA support, you're going to have a much more streamlined process of just configuring and making available the whole and the entirety of your digital experience sites in a progressive web app footprint. This is going to also have some pretty exciting kind of downstream effects, and ultimately we're looking forward to seeing how much further we can take this relative to taking and wrapping these PWAs with native capability and things of that nature. So definitely another thing to pay some attention to as we work through the next couple of sessions and the next couple of releases for the platform. And then, relative to that kind of developer environment, one of the things that we have traditionally not been able to support is a kind of desktop environment for some of the new capabilities, right? The idea here is, okay, we can take and make use of Docker Compose to deploy the containerized versions or the containerized components, for instance, the DAM, the Content Composer, Experience API, and so on, and deploy those alongside either an existing development environment for the core DX capabilities, or deploy them with a Docker delivered version of that. So Docker Compose is going to allow for those developers to be able to spin those containers up on a local environment and be ready to immediately get to work with development. This also is quite interesting to provide in a way that we can give kind of a proof of concept environment to the customer. And so ultimately, I think this is going to be a very, very handy tool and capability for the customization and development for these digital experience properties. So, and for the ongoing care and feeding, the infrastructure, the actual kind of cloud deployment, a couple of things worth mentioning here as well. As David kind of pointed out, we switched from kind of an operator deployment mechanism to Helm-based deployment mechanism. So this is going to make it quite convenient to deploy, modify, update your digital experience properties, and is definitely the model that we're going to be using going forward for the best practices deployment mechanism on the container-based environments. So we've introduced the necessary configuration to make use of remote search on these hybrid and fully containerized environments for EKS, AKS, and GKE. And this is going to allow for those kind of multi-node infrastructures to be able to take place and participate in the remote search capability that we have, in digital experience. We've offered some URL support in the sense that you can customize, remove, essentially control the way that the URL is going to function relative to the context root and or the removal of the context root, which is quite exciting, for anybody that's involved in kind of SEO or that has those types of requirements requiring the flexibility of customizing that URL. We have, introduced some backup and recovery procedures, the capability of being able to, in the same way you can back up your core digital experience components, back up the containerized DX components. Obviously quite handy for, day-to-day backups and disaster recovery scenarios. And then we introduced some cache management capability for Web Content Manager. The capability essentially allows for, on the execution of a syndication, the flushing of the Wickham Advanced Cache, which allows the content that has been syndicated and recently updated to immediately become available for consumption by the end users. So I think you can probably see from both, what we saw on the roadmap, the kind of direction we're taking. We're doing a lot to reinvent this platform, making use of all of its traditional strengths and allowing for those digital-first organizations, to be able to have a lot more granular, controls and capabilities relative to how these sites operate. We are very, very anxious to hear from you guys to understand how the roadmap is coming along, relative to your requirements. And we definitely would encourage you to reach out to us, with any questions or any kind of additional detail required. So I guess now that we've seen some of the new features, we've had a look into the roadmap. Let's have a look at a scenario and how it might come together. And so now we'll transition over to Joe and Rebecca and have a look at that.
Hi, everyone. I am Joe Schuster. And if you don't know me, I lead up the growth and strategy team for HCL DX in North America. And really looking forward to talking today. We'll get into it a little bit deeper, but it's about really navigating the moments that matter. And we'll explain what that means here in just a second. But before we go any further, I wanted to introduce a new member of our team, Becky Creighton. Why don't you say hello and maybe give a little bit of background and why you chose to join the DX team?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Joe. Becky Creighton. I have a long history in technology sales. I'll throw out there, I even worked my way through college at CompuServe. So I joined, dating myself, I joined HCL DX because I was really impressed with how sophisticated the solution is and the problems that it could solve for customers. And I thought it could really make a big impact for customers.
And that's what we're going to be talking about today, right? Navigating some of those problems and how DX helps do that. So for the presentation, we're actually be three parts of it. The first part is going to be just the kind of setting up. What do we mean by moments that matter? How does DX help? Kind of conceptually. But I know what you're thinking. Let's see it in action, and that's what Becky's going to do. She's going to actually walk through a demo where we've created that really is kind of a composite of a number of different scenarios for clients. And really, it kind of brings those moments that matter to life. And then we'll come back, and I think the other question you might be asking is how can we help? And we'll talk about that, how we can help you, solve maybe some of your most difficult problems. So, without further ado, let's get started. And I want to actually start with our marketing position, right? You've probably all seen this. It is, a pretty famous, kind of straightforward positioning in the marketplace of what DX is, right? And it's about that intersection that we always talk about, processes, content, applications, all kind of being brought together. But really the question that comes to mind is what does it mean? Like really, what does that mean? What is the actual impact, or how do you deliver value to that end customer, that guest, that employee, that member, right? Really, what is it, and what about that user experience, and how does DX help? And the way that we think about it at DX is a little bit different. And admittedly, I bring a little bit of this thinking from my career. I spent 20 years in the services business, and one of the things we always talked about with clients was this challenge that they face. And we look at it as kind of this front stage and backstage. And I think most everyone on the meeting today is familiar with this, right? You have this front stage in which you want to deliver this robust user experience, but it relies on the backstage, right? All these processes and applications and everything. And how do you kind of bring these pieces together? And back to that front stage, if you really think about it, that's been traditionally the domain of experience design, user experience design, customer experience design, whatever term you want to use, and the CMS platforms, right? So everyone's kind of familiar with a number of the different CMS platforms, DX included, where they're really kind of focused on that front stage user experience, right? Be it a sign up or an onboarding or even a transaction. And you think about, again, the end customers, the employees, stakeholders, whomever that might be. But also, to bring that to life, you're reliant on those legacy and back end processes and systems and the like. And that's really been the domain of those legacy systems that, quite frankly, were conceived and brought to life well before digital was even thought about. And what that does is it creates this gap. And that's really kind of, frankly, my experience in all of my years working with portals and content management. It's this gap. And how do we bridge this gap of bringing that front stage and backstage together? And frankly, this is where HCL DX shines. It's core to our product, being able to bring these pieces together. And by doing that, right, you're going to end up having a better overall experience for your end user. But you might ask yourself, like, what is that gap? Like, can you tell me a little bit more about that gap? And really, I think it's things that we've all gone through, right? These are just some of the examples. You are talking about maybe you've entered in a mortgage application, right? It's probably the biggest purchase of your lifetime, and you've done it online, and all of a sudden you're in the abyss. Where are you? What am I approved? Am I not approved? Why haven't I heard back? Right? Even though we get promises of this being done in minutes, really there's always some strings attached, right? And that's really one of those examples of a moment that matters and the gap that we're talking about, or healthcare, right? How many times have you seen something in the mail that you get that says this is not a bill, right? Well, if it's not a bill, why am I even getting? Like, it creates confusion. You might go to your phone or desktop and you're trying to figure out exactly what this is. What does it mean, right? There's not a lot of awareness of the healthcare system pre-illness, right? It's typically also in a time of stress, and that just creates a further gap and creates another moment that truly matters. Or I think we've all gone through this. Buy something online, you go to the store, you try to return it, and you can't. Why can't you? Because those systems aren't connected, right? Everyone that's in IT, everyone on this call knows the reason you can't is they're not able to navigate that front end and back end, that front stage, backstage. That's a true gap there. And then I think, of an example with COVID, I live in the state of Ohio, and they actually run their state a website on DX. And through that, we had a surge when COVID hit of the unemployment insurance. And I can say with pride and the like that we were able to handle that surge. But that's another example where you're trying to navigate this moment that matters. I'm dealing with potentially being unemployed. How do I actually get signed up? The information getting presented to me. In the state of Ohio where I live, we were able to navigate that moment that matters really because of DX. But I know that there's been challenges elsewhere. And those are the type of things that we're talking about. Those are the moments that matter. Or said another way, as I like to kind of think about it, what it is HCL DX helping Eric, Lisa, Randy, you in the audience. It really is helping you navigate those moments that matter. And that's critical to the success of your business. It's critical to the success of your employees and really kind of productivity overall. And that's all great. I know what you're thinking. Nice slogan, good animation, Joe. That's great. But really, what does it mean in action? How do we see this in action? Can you show us a little bit of DX helping to navigate those moments that matter? And that's where Becky's going to come in to keep me honest here. So, right. Becky, why don't you take over and show everyone that it's not just slideware. We actually can help navigate those moments that matter.
Absolutely. Thanks, Joe. So before we dive into the demo, I do want to kind of set up the scenario that we're going to be working with. So we have a fictional company called HRT Healthcare. They're an insurance company based on a composite of some DX clients right now. So real world clients are doing aspects of this. So what we're showing you is actually in practice today. And then Larry is the customer. He's the patient, if you will, and he is a member of HRT Insurance. So Larry has a problem, Joe. His wife is not very happy with him because he has a snoring problem and it's keeping her up. She's cranky in the morning and she's like, Larry, I need you to go get this solved and fixed. Go find a solution for your snoring. So Larry trusts his health insurance company, HRT, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And so he's going to go to their website and find a solution or at least information about snoring and what could be causing this, because he wants to have a happy wife. So,
the happy life, right?
The happy life. That's right. Happy wife, happy life. So the moments that matter that we're talking about are there's four components here, but we're going to look at privacy. So, I mean, obviously, when you're a health insurance company and you're a customer of that insurance company, they have very sensitive information about you that you're not going to want to get out. And you want to make sure it's secure and it's private. And so with HCL DX, that is definitely a component of the platform with the security. And then, Larry's going there. He's like, you have all my health information. Know me, show me relevant information. I don't want to see information about women's health. I'm a man and I want to get information about men's health. So that's a know me and being able to create that connection with your customer. And then we look at what Joe was talking about with the backstage, these back-end systems. And, with these disparate systems, Joe, and having them talk to each other can really be the big challenge. And what we're going to show is how you can integrate those systems and break down those silos. And then the fourth component of this is something that's very difficult to produce in a digital world, but we have a really great solution or solutions to help foster that. And when you're working on empathy, right, it's showing the customer that you know what they're going through, there are challenges for them, and how can you provide information that makes them feel heard and makes them feel like you care. And so with that, I'd like to go ahead and get started with the demo. But Joe, there is one thing that with the breaking down the silos, you had a personal experience with.
Yeah, no, it's this is acute for me. So my previous employer, we actually had, if anyone's been through a situation where you have out-of-pocket maximums and you reach those maximums and you can get reimbursed. Well, in order to do that, you have to turn in those claims. And this is an example of breaking down the silos. In the case of the insurance company I was working with, I actually had to print out a form, fill it out, and I was given two choices. I could mail it or I can fax it. I can't email it, right? There's no digital form. There's no place I can go on the website to click the buttons and the drop downs and telling me what my code is for the services they're providing. None of that. it was all paper-based. And this is, I started HCL, 9, 10 months ago. So this was very recent. And it's just a perfect example. And everyone on this phone probably knows the reason they can't do that is they are trouble integrating their claim system, whatever it might be, and or they're having trouble in bringing that to life on the experience side, right? They might be missing that technology component to be able to bring that front stage and backstage together. So, I've lived through this. It helped influence some of the things that we're going to talk about and share. And as you pointed out, and what everyone's going to see here in just a moment, it's real life examples. So these are clients of ours that are doing certain parts of this journey, and we're trying to kind of bring this together and show you how DX can help you through this entire customer experience. So I'm going to stop the presentation here, and I'm going to hand over to you, Becky, so you can share with us the demo.
Thanks, Joe. So what I want to go through is I want to show you how HRT's platform really addresses those 4 moments that matter that we discussed earlier, and how it can bring that front stage and backstage together by closing that gap and breaking down those silos. So here, Larry goes into his HRT website, and it's a generic welcoming message as well. And you can see here there's information about vaccines and the provider search, but he's not logged in yet. So the information that he's seen is really just for anybody who comes into the site. But we get down here and it says already a member. Well, let's go ahead and sign in. And when Larry signs in, you're going to see that this changes in what he sees with the information that is going to be provided on the home screen. So now we can see the banner picture is of a man because the system knows that Larry is a man. And then it changes the blog articles here that are relevant for Larry. And then even down here, it's like, welcome back, Larry. Glad you're here. Check your coverage anytime, and gives him options that he can use with the insurance portal. So Larry, if you remember, he wanted to go and get information about the snoring. So he goes over here to Find Care, and he's going to search on snoring and see the information that's going to be returned. So now with the snoring, he can see that he can either take a quiz, which is powered by DX, by the way, as a Leap or through Leap with forms. And then he can either do an at-home sleep study or an inpatient sleep study. Well, Larry really is just looking for information right now, so he wants to go ahead and take a quiz. And when he comes in to take this quiz, he's going to just go through and answer these questions. Again, this form was built using HCL DX. And then he's going to submit his answers and get the results. Now, this is a pretty powerful page, actually. If you take a look at what's going on here, this is definitely talking about breaking down those silos and closing that gap, because there are a number of different systems that are providing information on this page. The first one is the quiz results. So here we can look at, and it says, if your answers total 3 or more in a category, you may be suffering from a sleep disorder. So Larry's looking at this and he was like, it kind of looks like I have sleep apnea. And so, that's the first sign. Okay, there's some information there. But then he could go over here into this area, this widget, and he can look at more research. He can read FAQs. He can even make an appointment. Now we're coming down here to useful articles and associated procedures. And Joe, this is really where the empathy pieces come in, where we're providing data and information to Larry that he can dive a little further in, like, oh, wow, they know me. They are getting to know me. They're providing me with information that can give me more information about, solving this problem and of my snoring and making my wife happy. Very important. And then the other piece of this is you can see the different providers that are in Larry's area in Akron, Ohio. Well, the other thing that we want to point out here is if you can see this, it's also pointing out the copay, right? So now it's taking in that formulary information on Larry's health insurance plan, and it's saying if you go see Dr. Sleeps, you're going to pay $45 for your copay. And so then Larry comes down and he's like looking at these articles. Again, this is going to know me. So there are relevant articles based off of the engagement that Larry has with the platform. So the platform kind of looked at his results and said, oh, he may have sleep apnea. And they provide a blog article specifically on sleep apnea. So Larry clicks in, he wants to read more information. Now he's very interested. He looks at the symptoms. He's like, oh my gosh, I actually have some of those. And then he comes over here and he's like, the community responses, and he's like, oh, there are other people who are suffering with this just like me. This is social proof. We're pulling this information in from another system as well. And so Larry's now starting to feel like, wow, HRT really is getting to know me. They know what I'm suffering with right now. They're providing other results from people who are having the same issue. And, I think at this point, Larry is ready to make an appointment. So he's going to come back over here and he's going to make an appointment with Dr. Sleeps. And so we're going to fast forward a little bit. And so he sees Dr. Sleeps. Dr. Sleeps actually does acknowledge that he does have sleep apnea, and she prescribes a CPAP machine for Larry. So Larry comes back to HRT after going to his doctor's appointment, and he was like, I got some great information from HRT when I was trying to figure out what was going on with my snoring. Let me go back there and see what information I can find on a CPAP machine. I don't know what these are. I don't know how much they cost. And so Larry's continuing his customer experience journey again with HRT. So we're going to go through this screen and this page. This product display page is also being powered by HCL DX, and it gives a lot of information. So one, obviously, you product pictures, and Larry can now see what this looks like sitting on a nightstand in a bedroom. So he's like, now he can kind of envision himself there. And so HRT is doing a really good job of providing that information and what that experience could look like. There's obviously product information on it. We're also pulling in a rich video content. So this is coming from another system as well. And as he's scrolling down the page and looking at the information for the CPAP, Larry also sees there are product ratings and, again, product reviews. And this is important, again, because this is social proof. This is showing empathy that other people in the community are experiencing similar issues and what their outcome was with this machine. And then as he scrolls down, he sees similar items, again, being pulled in from another system, but it's providing a seamless experience for Larry. He could see that he could either, get a battery backup station, a cleaning machine. And so as he's going through this and he's reading all of this information, he's like, well, this seems like a really good CPAP and something I could purchase. So here I want to point out, if you take a look at here in this information, again, HCL DX is pulling this in from disparate systems, breaking down those silos to close that gap. So we can see here, Larry's looking at this and he goes, this machine's $799. That's not an inexpensive purchase, but it's going to make my wife happy. But he also sees that out of pocket would only be $200, right? Because of the formulary from his health plan. This is what he would actually pay if he was going to buy it with a credit card. But now Larry looks at this and he's like, I have $4,300 in my HSA, so this is going to cost me $0. Why wouldn't I buy this? And so with that and pulling all of that information in one place for Larry to make that decision, he can go ahead and buy with the HSA. So Joe, if we take a look at this, we've seen Larry go from, my wife isn't happy with my snoring, I need to go find a solution. He goes to HRT Insurance, he researches the snoring, what could be causing this? He gets information that's specific to him, and he also can schedule that appointment. So the information from the healthcare plan or platform gives him the ability to take action. And so he makes that doctor's appointment, the doctor prescribes a solution for him, Larry buys the CPAP machine, uses it, he's not snoring anymore, and his wife is ecstatic. And so it's a great customer journey. And, with these moments, Joe, that we are able to deliver using DX, I think really makes a very happy customer and a loyal customer.
That's true. And I think the key thing too, I know we've shown an example in healthcare, but a few things here. One, with being able to buy the product off of your formulary and the like. Those are conversations I was having with clients in this industry. So very relevant use case, great example here. And we actually have clients that are using DX from an e-commerce standpoint. So again, very relevant. And then also beyond just healthcare, if you think about it at a fundamental standpoint, those moments that matter, many of them, regardless of the industry, come down to privacy, know me, break down silos, empathy, all of those components. So I want to transition back to the presentation and what we were talking about and kind of bring this all together and talk a little bit about how we can help you. So, as we transition back to the presentation, this gets to something different too, right? We talk about these moments that matter, but they all add up to something, right, Becky?
Yep, absolutely. So we've reviewed the 4 moments that matter, and we as we look at this, we can see that what is actually being driven here. And when we demonstrate, or when a company demonstrates understanding and empathy, it's really taking into account the core of trust. It's the science of trust. And when you have a customer who trusts you, then you are producing a loyal customer and even probably a customer advocate. Their experience matters with regard to what can be produced from their standpoint.
It's about feeling valued, quite frankly. Larry's journey is about feeling valued. I go back to the example we had at the beginning of me sending in paper or being told I had to fax something. I don't feel valued. They don't understand my needs, right? Literally, I can remember when I was calling into the call center and was told you have 2 options, you can mail or fax. It was very disappointing and certainly didn't build trust and doesn't build and make me feel valued as a member. And especially in healthcare, those are changing, and digital is changing all different industries, right? So we all need to kind of think about these moments that matter. And it kind of gets back to what we started talking about. We've got this gap sitting there. That science of trust is about closing the gap, right? And the key to it, in our opinion, is that DX can help you close that gap, right? We have unique capabilities that address the front end and the backstage. If you think about the platform, right, that CMS capability along with the portal capability, that's all focused on bridging this gap and really kind of bringing these 2 sides together. So, as you all know, this day is really dedicated to spending more time and talking about the capabilities coming in the platform that are in the latest release. And they're going to be talking about ways to kind of bridge this gap. And we hope that you learn a little something new about that. And as you do, we hope you come to see HCL DX as doing more than just maybe a CMS or as your portal. As you really start to think about the capabilities that are being delivered and you hear more about what is in the platform and what it's capable of doing, we hope you start to change your mindset potentially. You start to think about, how can HCL DX help me address all of the parts of the front stage and the backstage and help me bridge that gap? And by doing that, help me navigate those moments that matter. And you're not alone on this, right? You're not sitting out there by yourself. Our teams here at HCL and within the DX team want to work with you. And there's a number of us here, and there's a lot of capability. If I look at the combined experience, and you mentioned age yourself earlier, I had to do it all, I had it all up. I think I'm over 250 years of experience on this team, and this is just a portion of the team, right? We got the full team that's in the development side of things, the support, all of the Asia and Latin America and European sales team, but really kind of looking at us, and it's a great combination. It's one of the things I wanted to underscore as you're looking to potentially solve a problem. Bring us in. We want to talk to you. We want to show you how DX and you can get the full value from the investment that you've made. There's a number of us that have been working with the platform for years, right? Steve and Jerry, Kyle, they go back to the platform, 15, 20 years, right? And there's a number of us that have actually new to the platform, new to HCL DX, however, have been working with clients to solve problems like the one we just talked about, right? They come from digital agencies. David Nye here, who is the lead, the CTO for DX globally, spent 20 plus years at one of the largest digital agencies. So it's a great combination, right? With Carlos in Europe and years of experience, to David being new to HCL DX, but years of experience solving the problems, right? Myself, Gary, all of us. We're looking to work with you. And you say, okay, how do I do that? How can I reach you? Well, take your phones out, scan the QR code. We'd love to spend some time with you. What we're calling kind of our experience accelerator programs. We want to work with you. There's a number of options there. Your concern might be about experience. We'll gladly work with you there. You might have a question about the technology stack or going to the cloud. All of those things. We're here to work with you and help get the most value out of the platform, ultimately helping you bridge that gap and navigate those moments that matter. We really appreciate your time. We thank you and look forward to hearing from you soon. So for Becky and I'd like to say goodbye and welcome you to continue on and learning a little bit more about DX the rest of the day. Thank you.
Welcome everyone to the HCL Digital Experience summer launch. On this session, we will be talking about the DX feature review and the new features that are available with CF 196. You can see the agenda here. We'll talk about naming, talk about Docker Compose with Ramachandran. Sharika will take us through CI/CD. Praveen will discuss MLS. Bernie will talk about the exciting new things with Design Studio. Thomas will cover API v2 along with the API Explorer changes. And Tim will wrap us up with the changes we made in Helm-Based Deployment for KubeNext. The naming structure, the biggest piece for everything to take out of here is every release for CF 196 forward will include both Cube and on-premise updates. So in previous iterations where we had done CF 19 and then CF 191 and 192, which had Cube updates, we're stopping that, and every release going forward will have both. So therefore, we're also changing the numbering. So the numbering will just be sequential going forward from CF 196. I believe this change will remove confusion and make it easier for all of our customers to know where we are. The left side is the rough schedule for the remaining part of the year, so you can have that as a reference for you. And the link at the bottom will take you through how to download the latest CF if you need that assistance. Okay, and now we'll go into Docker Compose with Ramachandran.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm going to talk about a little scripting which we have done that is called HCL DX Docker Compose. So basically what this tool does is it would run all your DX Docker images in a minimal footprint on your local machine. So all your DX-based Docker containers such as Ring API, DAM, etc., along with core, would be running on your local using the Docker Compose. What you can do with this is that you would be able to stop all the individual services. Also, you would be able to load all the Docker images into your local Docker desktop using the script. There is a possibility of performing a load balancing. You can increase the number of containers in the Docker Compose. You would be able to do a load balancing between more than one instance. It's pretty easy to set up. The scripts there are primarily only 4 scripts which you need to execute, and then you are up and running. The main purpose of this tool should be used only for testing and development purpose, and it should not be used for production. And the scripts are already available for both Windows as well as macOS. And the final thing to be noted is that this is not a part of the release which DX releases, or it is not a part of the product. It is an open source. And I have also provided the GitHub link where you can go and have a look. There is a README file which explains how you need to set this up. You can, if you wish to modify it, you can clone it and then modify as per your wish and execute it. So the README is going to give you a full picture of how to do, etc. And there is also a video available for you to go through it. That's about DX Docker Compose, and the video will be available in the next slide.
Okay, Sharika with CICD.
Hello and welcome to everyone. So I'm Sharika. I'm part of the DX engineering team working on the DX solution. So with CF 196, we have exciting things for DX client. We have literally upgraded the packaging of DX client this time. DX client was released on with 9.5 CF19, and from that time 9.19 to 1.95 it has been a node package installable. But with CF196, we are packaging it in a container. So we'll be delivering the DX client in as a Docker image. Billy, could you move on to the next slide? So what changes here is that now we have a tar.gz file, the zip of a Docker image packaged inside the zip file that we are providing. So in the node package that is there, we have to install. The prerequisite is that the node should be installed. In this case, the prerequisite is that just Docker needs to be in your workstation, and just give a Docker load dxclient.tar.gz command, and it will be loaded into your system. And then there are some samples that is there to refer, and also you will be able to find some easy to use scripts to execute the commands. The details are present in the readme.txt that is there. This allows easy integration into your existing automation framework as well, because the all the other solutions also come as a container image. So given that there is a store also that I would like to talk about, there's a store folder which will contain all the configurations, logs, and output files that will be there. Other than that, it is pretty much the same that is there, and you will be seeing the node package, CF196 node package also there, but it is deprecated as of now, and we recommend using the CF container release for this DX client. That is the major upgradation that we did in the DX packaging in a packaging level. The next artifact that we have, there's also a new artifact that we have added, a new feature that is added to DX client. As always, we have been adding features in each release. So this time is basically the ability to upload and delete files from shared library. So Billy, could you move on to the next slide, please? Yeah, this is the link to the DX client container demo. Yeah, so this is a new artifact that I was talking about. Now we have the ability to upload and delete from shared library. So what we have done this time is in CF196, in your on-prem or your cube deployment, you will be able to find a new default shared library called DXClib available under the WP profile. And under this, you will be able to through a DX client, you will be able to upload and delete files into this location. So this removes the overhead to create a custom shared library from your end and manage files. We are just providing you a default solution with this. The commands are given there, and this is available from CF196. So these are the major new features that we have added for DX client in CF196. Yeah, I hope you all get to try this out and let us know the feedback. Thank you.
And now we'll go to multilingual.
Yep. Hey everyone, this is Praveen here. For multilingual solutions, in order to provide seamless experience for multilingual content, from CM196, customers will be able to perform bulk translation of content for libraries and projects using export and import features that has been integrated in the DX client tool. Export and import of content can be done for multiple libraries using either library ID or its library name. As I mentioned, it can also be performed on projects using project name. Using the delta change export that you have provided, customers will be able to export the content that they wish to check after the mentioned timeline. These features that will allow you to export the content in a CSV file to translate the content, and there will be a field that will provide a preview link to preview that content based on how it looks. Few fields that will provide the data to view and update the translated content information metadata, such as title and description of the content. There will be also length limits for few contents using which we can validate the data length check allowed for that particular content type so that before the content is being imported back into the DX, there will be a check performed whether a content is in proper length or not. Also, with this release, we have also provided support for mobile view, the language switcher in Midbone Studio, wherein the users will be able to have a look at the content in mobile view using a language switcher. To know more about the features in detail, I request you to have a look at the video at link attached in the next slide.
Okay, that's multilingual. And now Burmy with Design Studio.
Hello everyone, Brimi here to share with you our all new and exciting Design Studio. So creation of sites and pages is already possible with DX, but mostly developers are the ones who do that, as it requires technical skills like CSS coding, just to build and design the page. However, or fortunately, I would say, Design Studio empowers our content authors, designers, and marketers to build sites on their own. That is by simplifying the page creation and site creation process in just a matter of minutes. And the most important part, without the need to code. That was made possible by providing blocks and elements that we can visually drag and drop together with wide variety of styling options that we can design with it. And we also offers customization and reusability of our existing Wicom content. So Billy, can you proceed with the next one? So this time, let's deep dive a bit with Design Studio. We can see in the screenshot a stunning landing page. Actually, that is our new out-of-the-box demo site that we can start to explore and play around with, or even get inspiration if we want to create our own site. As mentioned a while ago, this Design Studio is a designer-focused tool, as it speeds up the process of building page and even a complete website via its inline editing capabilities, reusability of content and assets, and even enabling us to design from various devices like mobile, tablet, and desktop. Aside from that, there's no need for presentation template or authoring portlets just to render our content. And at the back end, it's built from rich Wecom V2 APIs that enable us to create our content headlessly. Then for the next part, this time, let's focus on its powerful page editing capabilities. So in the screenshot, we can see Design Studio's page editor. At the right side panel, we can see a portion of its wide range of styling options. And the artifacts that we see here, like its icon, the background image, title, description, actually all came from an existing Wecom content. And this view is actually a desktop view, but notice at the top center, we just need to click the tablet or the mobile, and we can see on how it would be delivered to our users via those type of devices. And on our end, we can lay out them appropriately. And aside from this landing page, we can apply styles across different pages of our site. And let's say our hotel lobby renovation title is more appropriate to be phase 2. What we have to do is to select the text, type in phase 2, and then finalize, and voila. That's how quick our inline editing can provide to our designers. For the next slide, you will see a link wherein I provided a recorded demo to build our sample landing page, and hopefully you enjoy our short exploration. And that was it. We're hoping to hear from you. Thank you.
Okay, and Thomas with the Wicom API V2.
Thank you and welcome. My name is Thomas Zurich. I'm part of the development team and I'm going to show you our new APIs. So you might be aware that for Web Content Manager, we have a rich set of APIs available, but those APIs are a little bit older style in the sense that they work with AtomXML, or they can also work with a JSON format, but it's a bit more complex to use them. And so far, if you want to explore how to use those APIs, you had to go to the info center, figure them out, and then try them out to see how you go about it. What we have newly available with 196 is new APIs that are Open API compliant, and we have also shipping a Swagger UI. As you just saw Burmy talk about, we have new artifacts that are living within Web Content Manager, like for instance containers or symbols. And those, of course, need to be also exposed or are exposed with our new API. So what we did as well is everything is JSON. You don't have to think about what parameter you want to use. And we also contained all of the different parameters in the input and output. So you no longer have to look in the info center if the input that you're sending is somewhat different from the output. The API is beta stage with 196, while we're extending and adding more features to this. This API feature works on both on-prem as well as in container deployments, but if you're on-prem, the new artifacts are not supported at this time, but you can still use the content and the new search API. So we have many more APIs to come here, so stay tuned for that. As always, with our continuous delivery, we bring you features every 2 months. And we also want to mention that we have added a lot of REST APIs for different features. So if you wanted to apply, for instance, a content template to a set of content, you can do that now. And the list here is relatively extensive. There are all kinds of different items you can do now with the REST API that was not possible so far. We had used the Java API. So you can do enhanced querying, you can trigger syndication, or you can do some searches. You can also find deleted items and undo deletion, or clear the trash can. You can also clear theme caches for development. So lots of possibilities here to make your experience more powerful for either a headless experience or for administration from Jenkins or other operations pipelines. If you want to check out those features, take a look at the video. And as always, we're really valuing feedback and want to improve as much as we can. So let us know how you feel about these features, and stay tuned for more to come in 197. Thank you.
And Tim Peller will take us through Helm-Based Deployments.
Yeah, thanks, Billy. Hey, I'm Tim. I'm the chief architect of the DX development team, and I'm quickly going to talk you through the new feature that we added for our Kubernetes-based deployments called the Helm-Based Deployment. What that is actually is, well, for us, it's sort of the next step towards our containerization journey, and it basically is a new way, a new option to deploy DX inside a Kubernetes environment. Right from the start, we are already at feature parity with the already existing old, in quotation marks, operator-based deployment that was out there up until now, and that will also stay for the coming releases. Actually, what this Helm-based deployment really changes is it sort of changes the approach that we are taking towards deployment. In previous times, it was mainly a black box deployment. Now it's a white box, if you will, deployment approach where you can declaratively configure each and every piece of your deployment. There's more details there that I'm not going to go in now in too much detail now. Just to mention that there's also a talk that I'll be holding together with my colleague Suraj later on during this summer launch. So if you want to get more into details, please make sure to join that talk. Last thing I want to mention here is really that starting with now CF 196, this Helm-based deployment approach is the sort of preferred way how to deploy your Kubernetes environment from scratch. So just to give you a really quick glimpse into sort of how simple and easy it is to get your deployment up and running, this slide basically already summarizes everything you need to do. You sort of start with the new artifact that you're going to be able to get with CF 196. So there's this HCL DX deployment zip file that you will get from FlexNet. You still have to load your Docker images into your private registry. But then, I mean, all you basically do is unzip your deployment zip, do configurations in this so-called values YAML, or basically actually in your own values YAML. You configure storage. You update your certificate that you want to use for your DX deployment, and then it's like a Helm install command, and you're good to go. Again, if you want to learn more about that and want to like be introduced in even more details, please feel free. I look forward to see you to join us in our more detailed session later on, or you can just jump into the little demo that I recorded for you. There, I'll walk you through the steps that I really briefly walked over now. On command line, show you how things are being done and how you can get up and running with Helm-Based Deployment for DX in really a matter of minutes. And with that, I guess, Billy, back to you.
Yep. So, want to thank everybody for taking time to listen to the feature review and the new items that we've got going forward with CF 196. You can use the links at the end of each of the demos to view and see more details about the exciting stuff that we delivered. Again, thank you for your time, and we look forward to your feedback. Bye.
Welcome to our session about HCL DX and how to pick a cloud, actually any cloud, to run your HCL DX. My name is Tim Petel and I'm the Chief Architect of the HCL development team. And with me, I have my colleague Suraj.
Hi, my name is Suraj and I'm a technical lead with DX.
And today we are going to walk you through this little agenda. So first of all, I'm going to talk about why containerization, actually, what motivates containerization in general, independent of DX, but also in the special circumstance with DX. I'm going to walk you through our journey, so what we as the HCL DX development team have already done in terms of containerization. And also I'll give you a quick glimpse into what we are going to do. And then Suraj is going to tell you a bit about the deployment options that are out there and also show you really a glimpse into how easy it is to deploy nowadays. With that, let's jump into the question, why containerization? Using containerization, it's really easy to have consistent and easy to deploy environments, meaning deployments that you do once, it's really easy to replicate them twice, 3 times, as often as you want, because they are really easy to maintain and stay consistent. There's actually no dependency to any physical hardware at all, because containerization abstracts away from the physical hardware layer completely. And therefore, it's really easy to deploy on different hardware. And last but not least, containerization doesn't only let you deploy on any hardware, it also lets you deploy anywhere, meaning not only on premises, but also in any cloud. So second pillar here is the agility that comes with containerization. I want to be honest here. I mean, good part of this agility is also something that we as the development team benefits from, and that is actually the ease of development due to modularization. So you can think about if you have a huge product, huge code base that is not well modularized, not well isolated from each other, meaning the different modules are not well isolated from each other. It's kind of hard to introduce change, because if you change something here, that has consequences over there and vice versa. Having clear separation and clearly isolated modules makes it much easier to just focus on small parts of the product to change. And therefore, change in general gets much easier because it doesn't have those cross dependencies and further consequences if you just change a small thing. And that actually enables us to have a higher development velocity, to be able to respond much quicker, much faster to your requests, your feature requests, your bug fix requests, and also to it enables us to deliver much faster. And last but not least, not only faster, but much more frequent, because we are changing smaller pieces. Therefore, it gets easier to deliver smaller pieces more often. Last but not least, I want to touch on the total cost of ownership, basically your total cost of ownership. Using containerization, we kind of standardize the operations and maintenance of DX. Therefore, if you have your containerization environment running, say Kubernetes, it's actually just another application running inside your containerization environment, and you don't have to sort of educate your operations teams to know yet another application or to know how to operate yet another application, because it's, again, just in quotation marks, another application that's running inside Kubernetes. Using containerization, also scalability is improved, and also the efficient usage of your hardware resources is guaranteed. And that both leads to lower costs as well. I already touched on the simple deployment beforehand. So that will also reduce your costs that you have operating the environment. And again, last but not least, responsive scaling is a really important feature that Kubernetes or containerization in general adds for you, meaning that you don't have to have a huge hardware environment sitting there to be able to respond to possible load peaks that may only happen once a year or something. But Kubernetes takes that burden from you and lets you auto scale, responsively scale, always reflecting or is reacting to the load that really hits your environment. So with that, I hope I gave you a good idea about what motivates containerization for us, but also why you should be interested in containerization in general. With that, I want to jump over into the journey of DX towards containerization. So what we've done so far, meaning what have we implemented in terms of containerization up until today? So first of all, we packaged the existing on-premises or the existing DX code base, the existing application inside a so-called core Docker container so that the legacy product is able to run inside Kubernetes. On top of that, we already built new features, new functionalities in new or in additional Docker containers that are running right beside DX Core, that are interacting with DX Core and that already extend the capabilities that DX Core had to offer with, for example, digital asset management functionalities with a enhanced content composer, meaning content editing features, and so on. The deployment method that was used up until now, or that is used up until now, I should say, to deploy the DX containers into a containerization environment, namely Kubernetes, was a so-called operator-based deployment using a tool that was called DXCTL. And actually, this tooling can be used to deploy not only to your on-premise Kubernetes environment, namely OpenShift, but actually to all of the major cloud platforms. You see all the logos here on the right. We currently support AWS, we support Microsoft Azure, we support Google, and obviously also OpenShift. What we also delivered already is a so-called hybrid support. So where you can run new features, new functionalities, namely the DAM or the content composer inside a Kubernetes environment, inside a cloud environment, and where you can stay on-premise with your existing DX Core deployment. And last but not least, we also already delivered support for HCL Solution Factory, SOFI. So just 2 sentences in regards of SOFI. SOFI is actually a HCL cloud service that you can use to download HCL products as Kubernetes packaged applications. A technology that's called Helm comes into play here. And SOFI lets you download Helm charts together with Docker containers. And these you can use to deploy in the Kubernetes environment of your choice. But that's not everything. SOFI also enables you to pick and choose from different applications, meaning you could decide to not only download DX, but also download HCL Commerce and HCL FlexNet in just one so-called SOFI solution. And that would then enable you to take those Helm charts that you get out of SOFI and use them to deploy all the three applications in one go. That's what we've done basically so far. So I wanted to introduce you to some of the architectural thoughts behind all of this change and also weight into containerization. So in the center of everything is always the DX services that may be DX Core, but it's also the new features like DAM, like Content Composer and so on. And we are actually surrounding these services with a so-called Experience API, just to make it clear, like make a clear interface layer right around all the different services that we provide to make APIs look alike, meaning that they are all REST driven, so REST APIs, RESTful APIs, they all have a so-called API Explorer where developers can interact with. And we also do this to sort of push towards a modern API first driven development approach. While we're doing that, we are also re-architecting the core itself. So the old so-called monolithic application is going to be split into multiple services, and therefore we will enable much lighter and skinnier runtimes, meaning that you don't need to have one huge service that runs all of DX, but you have smaller services where you can maybe even pick and choose which one to run and which one not. So on top of that, we have already started to build new UIs, modern UIs that use latest UI development technologies and that are already using our Experience API. So for example, our digital asset management is built from the scratch using modern UI technologies called React, and the backend is based on Node.js, and it 100% uses the Experience API to interact with any of the backends there. In the spirit of sort of using what we sell, we are already using our Experience API to build all our new product UIs. And you are more than invited to build your own applications on top of the Experience API, and also get in touch with us to tell us like which pieces need to be added to the Experience API so that you can fulfill your requirements. So one more thought about the notion of the sort of existing on-premise environments and what is going to happen now in the future. So if you are a long-term DX customer already and have your on-premise environments up and running, if you're invested into these, basically, there's no change for you necessary right now. So these will stay supported at least for the coming 5 years. Be reminded, there's this new containerized world approaching. So as I just said, we already delivered the Docker image, we delivered Experience API and other features also in Docker containers, and these new features are also only available as Docker containers running in Kubernetes. So if you want to leverage those, you at least partially need to go down the containerization route with us. But again, if you want to stick to your on-premise environment with DX Core, that's totally fair, because we're also offering interoperability capabilities. I already briefly mentioned the hybrid deployment. So this type of deployment lets you stay on-premise with DX Core, but also leverage new services in a Kubernetes environment. So what are we working on right now? Actually, right now, we are basically changing our current deployment approach a bit. So I briefly mentioned the operator-based deployment before. We are changing that, and Suraj is going to tell you a bit about the details there, but we are changing that into a so-called Helm-based deployment approach. We are already in feature parity right now, or right from the first release of that, and this Helm-based deployment approach will make it much easier for you to deploy your HCL DX environment, but also will make it simpler to operate it. And I mean, as mentioned there, this new deployment option is going to be available with CF 196. That's going to be out there beginning of June. So for those of you who have never heard about Helm, just 2 sentences so that you have a rough idea of what that is. So Helm is basically the de facto standard for Kubernetes application management. So Helm lets you package your non-Kubernetes applications in a application bundle and offers you command line tools to easily deploy, configure, undeploy, update your application. So how's that done? Basically, Helm is a set of YAML files that describe your application, how it will be deployed in Kubernetes. And therefore, it offers you a good insight into how a deployment will look like, in this case, DX deployment will look like in Kubernetes. And also, it offers you the possibility to change configuration values so that you can decide how your deployment may look like. For example, you want to turn off one service of DX and turn on another one, or you want to decide how much resources you're going to give a particular service, and so on. So what are we doing next right after we delivered the Helm-based deployment? So first thing there is we are going to provide you migration options to migrate from your old operator-based deployment over into the new Helm-based deployment. That's going to be a side-by-side migration for sure, but again, we want to make it as simple as possible for you to move over. And on top of that, we want to further improve operations support, meaning we want to support Kubernetes logging solutions to make it easy to re-look into the system and see what's going on, or maybe what's going wrong as well. We want to extend metrics capabilities so that it's easy to see for you where resources are necessary or where resources are maybe not necessary anymore. And we also want to improve our SOAFI support in terms of more directly interact with services that SOAFI already provides for us. For example, SOAFI provides a nice admin UI already that we want to further leverage in the future. And with that, I want to hand it over to Suraj to talk you through the deployment options.
Thanks, Tim. So in the coming section, we are going to take you through the different deployment options which is available with DX. Okay, so here it's the the list of deployment options which currently we provide along with for the DX deployment. And so I will just take you through each and different options one by one. The first one is on-premise deployment. The DX evolved through decades and even much before the cloud era. And we do have a lot of customers, they already using an on-premise setup. And in case of on-premise deployment, we do have the available images which you can install on your servers, on your data center, and that you can make it as a cluster using a proxy cluster. So the customer request will directly come to the proxy cluster, and which will directly send you to the different DX nodes which is available there in the cluster. The advantage of this method is, which is actually battle proven, it's existing over more than 2 decades, and still we support and we commit like we can just support for another few years, and maybe in further it may supersede by the Kubernetes based deployment. And coming to the next deployment, and we do have full deployment which is completely Kubernetes based, and all our new applications which we developed on top of DX service, say like we do have DAM, Digital Asset Manager, we do have the Content Composer. So all these applications we are just providing only as a Kubernetes or Docker based deployment. So for this we do have multiple deployment methodologies, and as we just explained, we do have an operator-based deployment. In operator-based deployment, so for those who don't know about operator, which is a technology where we just create one operator, and that operator manage the complete deployment and the operations of the complete application. Say in our case, we do have a tool, it's a custom-made tool, we call it as DXCTL, and also for the DXCTL to work with, we do have a property file. The property file is nothing but it's a configuration. Say like how you can configure your application, the latest image version, or maybe the resource which you want to allocate for each and every resource, every containers. So that everything we just provide as a property file that you can customize it, and using this DXCTL tool you can deploy that to your Kubernetes cluster. So the DXCTL tool will deploy the operator, and the operator will read all these configurations which you already made, and based on that it will deploy and it will manage it. Here the advantage is, in case if some solution is having some trouble, or maybe it's having some outage, the operator will just keep on watching that particular resource, and it will just try to recreate that. So that's the additional advantage operator gives to you. But here the concern is, it's something like a black box approach. That means whatever we have written inside the operator, that's actually not a readable thing, and over that in case if you need some kind of customization, so we need to do a lot of change there in the operator. So that's an option with operator. And coming to the next deployment option, we do have Helm-based. And we already just take you through some slides where we have explained to you what is a Helm-based deployment. Helm is nothing but it's a package manager for the Kubernetes, and it's like a bunch of YAML files, which is a human readable in fact. And we are just providing all the configuration and all the deployment informations in the YAML file. And using the Helm, it's so easy. We can just directly deploy that to your cluster. And one more option what we do have is SOFI, that is HCL Solution Factory. It's a catalog of HCL's products. You can come to the SOFI catalog. You can select the applications which you need. Say like if you want HCL DX and maybe you want HCL Commerce, you can just select all these and you can just download the bunch of Helm chart and you can deploy it against your cluster. So that's again based on the SOFI Helm chart. And now coming to the hybrid deployment. So say you already have an on-premise deployment that's running on your data center. And still, if you wish to just use any of the new applications which we provide as part of DX Suite, say like if you want to use DAM, how you can use that? That's in where we do have the hybrid deployment methodology, where you can continue use your DX on your on-premise, and then you can extend this to your Kubernetes solution or Kubernetes cluster to use your DAM Docker-based application. Say like in case if you want to use DAM, you can deploy DAM on Kubernetes, and then you can connect with your on-premise DX server. That actually combines an on-premise deployment with a Kubernetes deployment. So in the coming slide, we will see how we can deploy it. And here we are just showing you how we can do it to a Helm-based deployment. Before we start, I'm just explaining you the prerequisites which you required for this Helm-based deployment. Yeah, definitely you need all these Docker images, which you can download from FlexNet. And then you have to load all these images to your private registry. It depends on the cloud provider which you have. And again, you need to configure the storage requirement for each and every applications we do have, so that you can just check the documentation and based on that you can configure the storage. And then we do have a customizable configuration file. In this case, we do have the values.yaml file. You can just go there and you can just update the YAML file with all your Docker image, maybe like your registry and the version of your image which you are using. And additionally, you can also add the configurations for each and every service. I mean the resource, so that everything you can update there in the values.yaml file. And we need some certificate, so that also you have to update there. Then you can just use a simple Helm install command, and which will deploy you the complete solution maybe in few minutes. So that's the advantage of using Helm. It's very simple and it's easy, and over it's an actually human readable YAML files, and it's allow you to just do some kind of customization. So yeah, that's the advantage of Helm-based deployment, which we are going to release from the July 1st.
I think that already concludes our little demonstration on or help on how to pick a cloud for your HCL DX deployment. I want to thank you for your participation. Thank you for your attention. Thanks also for Suraj. Don't hesitate to reach out in case of any questions.
Hello and welcome to our summer launch session for HCL Digital Experience. My name is Thomas Ulrich, and me and the team will guide you through our session today. We're going to talk about our latest additions to the product, empowering the marketers to color outside the lines of code. I'm part of the development team of HCL Digital Experience in the United States. With me is also Burmi, who is also from the development team, and she is working in Manila in the Philippines. And we also have Mike Rowe on from the product management team. Let's get started and take a dive into it. We're going to talk about different areas like things that we recently added to the product, of course, all the things that are already there in our product. And then we'll talk about updates that we have done for Content Composer, Digital Asset Manager, Web Content Manager, and then our greatest new addition, the Design Studio. So just a little recap on content management features that we provide with Digital Experience and HCL. So we allow you since around a year to integrate assets, and we have a very powerful asset management feature that we're going to talk about as well. We allow you to have any kind of content inside your content management system, and alongside that, we also let you use any kind of workflows, projects as well, to be able to control what content goes out when and where, and to also have approvals there. The content, of course, can be delivered to any kind of platform, be it an IoT platform, be it a mobile device, or be it a classic website. So, of course, the devices that you could use to see that could be mobile, it could be on a desktop, it could be any kind of Internet of Things programmable device as well, like a Raspberry Pi, for instance. Then if you want to build any kind of apps for your mobile, we have the headless option that allow you to utilize and facilitate that content on your app as well. So you can either build an app with our headless content features, or you can also build a full website or a limited website for different devices. I mentioned the headless approach. So for that, for our developers, we have made it easy by keeping on adding more and more APIs. And those APIs are either the classic server-side APIs, but also we have a lot of REST APIs or QueryQL APIs. And those are, of course, compliant with all the standards to be able to use those APIs in any place you want in any language. So to make it easier for developers as well, we have a lot of samples that give you the ability to quick start any kind of developing for building your websites or building applications or similar features. And now if we talk a little bit about the administration side of things and how you deploy the solution, it's very easy now to get our solution up and running in no time. And you can deploy this on any cloud you want. So be it AWS, be it Google Cloud or Azure or your own cloud or OpenShift, you can deploy anywhere you want, unlimited. We have a lot of tools available, both for developers and administrators, to get that deployment going, to keep your implementations up to date, to use continuous integration and delivery to get your applications automatically deployed as quick as possible. And in that same area, since we have such a full set of tools for developers and admins, we also give the full power to the business user. And the idea here is that the business user can make any changes they want. They can even use low or no code development platforms. And they also get the feedback with analytics back on what the actual users are doing with the site. There are very powerful integrations available for commerce, social, and other abilities, for instance, with HCL Commerce or with HCL Connections. And you can use that content and the assets that we have there to deliver your content sites or your social sites. So things that we recently provided that we're going to talk about and deep dive here is our new site management features that we'll see in the Design Studio, the ability to create sites and pages without any coding in minutes. We also delivered a new theme manager that lets you edit the theme directly without the need to download or modify files in the file system. You can do it directly on the server. We have very powerful analytics integration to find out what the end user is actually doing on your site and how you can improve it to get the best feedback and the best responsiveness for your device. And then, of course, the digital asset management that gives you the ability to have the best assets, to modify the assets on the fly and suit them perfectly for any device. So to talk about the Content Composer, features that we recently added for Content Composer. If you're not familiar with Content Composer, it's a new container-based user interface that we provide on top of our content management features that freshens up the offering portlet that you might be familiar with so far. So new features that we recently added is the ability to view and add comments for content. So far, this was bound to a workflow, but now we allow you freeform to add any contents, comments here to have a more social interaction between your business users that work on content. They can see them, they can approve it, they can update their comments as well, and they can tag each other as well if they want to possibly address different people. For the ability that we added with comparing content, as you know, of course, since we are a complete content management system, everything that we're doing is versioned, and you can jump back to any version in time that you like. But what is new is as well the ability to easily compare those different versions in time, and not only to compare, but also pick and choose certain fields within the content in a different version that you want to merge together. So let's say you want the summary from one version, but you want the name for another version. You can mesh it together into a new version, what is very powerful. On the digital asset management side, we have a very powerful digital asset management feature that's available as a container that you can deploy and integrate with your content, also integrate with commerce and other features. And recent additions that we have there is an enhanced crop functionality. So you can modify the images after uploading them directly on the system. You don't need to bring up any kind of tooling for that on your device. You can do directly online. We also have integration with Kaltura, what is a video management platform. And if you want to have videos and streaming, you can integrate with that. And we are using the Kaltura player here as well. What the player gives you in addition to just using comparison to a regular player is that it allows you to also blend in content to show advertisements or similar things. And we also implemented and added APIs. You can see the API Explorer here on the left-hand side that lets you explore and find out and use those APIs next to them. We also added some performance improvements and tested with million or hundreds of thousands of assets to ensure the best performance is given for you. On the Web Content Manager update side, I mentioned our new friendly readable URLs that we added the locale into the URL now instead of having slightly hard to read URLs. So we have, for instance, here for English, for German, or for Brazilian Portuguese, the ability to target the right language for your system. And then we also added the ability to easier manage translations. Of course, our content management system allows you to have translations for different sites. And the latest edition here lets you export the translations into a CSV file, integrated either with some kind of automatic translation from any kind of cloud vendor, or also if you have a translation provider. They don't have to go anymore into the user interface. They just get the CSV file, they translate, they send it back, and you can bring it back and you can also preview it. On the API side, we have added a lot of API recently who are all REST enabled. For instance, you can enable, disable the syndication. You can find deleted items and clean them up. You can clear the theme caches. You can apply content templates or also process items directly if they want to publish them immediately. You can lock and unlock items, and we also give you the ability to search for content in an easier way. One new evolution that we have as well is for any kind of the core Web Content Manager APIs that we now have a new evolution of that as the version 2 APIs. Those APIs are purely JSON, they're Open API compliant, and they're available within this API Explorer here. So the input and output matches for all of those APIs, and they're purely JSON to make it much easier to use. All of these APIs also provide complete content. Do not have to make multiple calls to the APIs to fetch whatever you need to fetch. This API Explorer is available directly in the core container and will also be available for on-premise use. Next, I want to hand over to Mike, who will take us through the design studio.
Right. Thanks, Thomas. I just wanted to talk a little bit about a net new project that we've been working on that we're going to deliver the first pass of here with this release called Design Studio. This is kind of a rethink on how we can, handle page delivery, page construction, and kind of assembly of those pages and editing those pages, after having been created the first time. So in a lot of respects, this is potentially going to evolve into a replacement for our existing site manager capabilities. We'll start to see on a very granular level net new features being delivered into Design Studio and in each release following this one. But ultimately the idea is to deliver some tooling that's going to make some capabilities that traditionally have gone to a web developer available to the people that are assembling the content, assembling the assets for their experiences. We're going to launch this with an out-of-the-box new sample property, actually a single kind of landing page experience, around a fictional hotel property, kind of extending on the existing kind of Woodburn Studio narrative somewhat. This property will have been constructed with and will provide tutorial content so that you can become familiar with the Design Studio tooling, and it's essentially built as a landing page. It's got essentially some rich tooling to allow you to edit and assemble the experience, change and make use of layouts. It will make use of a combination of existing content and assets and net new content and assets, and just allows you as the line of business person, the author, the marketer, a lot of capabilities that are traditionally associated with, as I said, web developers, in a lot of ways taking the place of the traditional development of presentation templates and components. All of those presentation templates and components and all of the artifacts associated with this site are still going to be actually represented as content within the content libraries, stored in a new fashion, where it's not actually making use of portal pages. The pages themselves are actually constructed and stored within the the Wickham library infrastructure as well. And then, of course, all of those APIs that Thomas was just mentioning are actually either created for or extended into the Experience API to facilitate this particular project. So you have, of course, all of those APIs available to allow for not only the Design Studio generated site, but the Design Studio generated site can be used in a headless way externally to remote applications as well, giving you some additional capability for those headless architectures. So at its core and where all the action happens within Design Studio, we have a page editor that allows you to populate those pages, to assemble those pages, the layouts and so on, with one-to-many content items. You can apply styling and so on, kind of inline in context. It allows for the creation of and the ability to preview various layouts, of course, responsive out of the gate. Allows you to update the content items that might be associated, whether they are existing content items or net new content items. And of course, all of this, happens within a single page and interface, allowing for, everything from the conception of a brand new page to, getting all the way completely built with that page and the preview necessary for multiple devices on the end consumer side. So out of the gate, we're going to have the ability to preview in a browser experience, a tablet, and mobile. And what we're going to continue to evolve into is the ability to preview as in a customizable preview way. So without any kind of further ado, let's just have a quick look at it. I'm going to pass the mic over to Burmy, and she's going to walk us through the product, and we'll have a look.
Thanks, Mike. At this point, let me share my screen. Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Burmy here to share with you not just what's new, but what's hot with our DX Content Manager. And it's none other than, as what Mike mentioned, our all-new Design Studio. I'm showing you here the landing page for our The Palace Hotel lobby renovation project, which showcases the work led by our Woodburn Studio designers. This is also the landing page that we'll try to build using our new Design Studio. So let's get started. Now we're at DX Practitioner Studio. Let's navigate to content sites, and we can see the sites, but at this point, a site that we have, which is the Palace Hotel. Let's select that, and we can see some sample pages that comes with our Palace Hotel. Let's try checking out one. And we can see some details about our profile page, like its status, last modified by, last modified on. But for this demo, let's try creating our own page. So let's name it Demo Landing Page and select Create and Edit. This will automatically land us to the page editor of our design studio. In here, we can see the blank canvas where we can build and design our page. But before we do that, let me tour you a bit with our page editor. So in the left side panel, we can see the pages of our site. We can even create our new blank page here. On the other hand, on the right side panel, we can see the various layout elements and blocks that we can use to build our page. We even have this style manager, settings, and layer manager, which in a bit I'll show you and how we can use. So let's start by creating the hero section of our landing page by adding a section layout element. And then let's add the content container. Actually, content container is a powerful block that we have in Design Studio, as it enables us to build our page using the artifacts from our existing Wecom content. In this case, let's use our Palace Hotel Hero section content. So this now refers to our Palace Hotel Hero section content, and we'll be adding an image element. To be specific, an image element, a background image element. So again, this image is from our existing Wecom content. Let's resize this a bit. Okay, this looks better to me. And let's add another element. At this point, let me add a div block. I'm using a div block here just so I can group the remaining parts of our hero section. So let's style that. Let's make its position absolute and change some relative to parent values just so it would look similar to what we want to target in the design. Let's make it 400 pixel and same with this one. Now, for me, it looks similar. Then let's add another image element, which maybe you can guess are the Palace Hotel icon. So similar to that, let's style this a bit. Let's make it block, and then I don't need the minimum height, but I want to add a margin, to be specific, a 150 pixel bottom margin, just so the next element won't be cluttered with it. So let me add another element, which is a text element, and this would refer to our title of hero section. We cannot see it yet, but don't fret, let's just style it as usual. So let's make the font color white. Now we can see it, and let's adjust some other settings. So let's make the font size bigger, let's make it Arial, and let's make it bold-faced. Okay, I guess it's looking similar to the one that we want to have. At this point, let me add the remaining parts of our hero section. So let me add the text again. This is the description of our hero section, but similarly, don't worry, let's just make it white and make the font size bigger. So basically same drill to what we usually do. Lastly, let's add the last item for our Palace Hotel Hero section, which is our call to action link. And at this point, I would actually just rinse and repeat the process of adding element and then styling them. Fast forward to that, we'll be able to create our stunning landing page. In here, we will see our entire Palace Hotel landing page with about the Palace Hotel, project scope, budget, and the gallery and other parts of it. At this point that I have my entire page, I realize I actually want to emphasize some parts of it. For example, this Palace Hotel gallery. To do that, let me add the class styling. So make it, I want to emphasize the title. So title emphasize. Let's just name it like that. And then let's make its font color red, just so it would pop out to the eye. And I also want to emphasize our designer. To do that, I'll actually just reuse our existing styling. Same with the featured product, I want to emphasize it. And I also want our project scope. There you have it. Actually, I'm already happy with my page. But I realize our user won't just view it in desktop. There's a high possibility that they would use either a mobile or a tablet view. So in this case, aside from making our page beautiful, we want to make it device responsive. To do that with our design studio, let's switch to this tablet view. Before this session, I actually styled a bit on our tablet view, but oh, I guess I missed some parts of styling. So let's continue doing that. So let's make it column so the text won't be clipped. This image looks stretched to me. So let's adjust the height, make it smaller, much better. And images here looks cluttered to me. So let's adjust that as well. And let's make it flex wrap. Much better. So at this point, I'm actually very happy with our page. Please take note that whatever styling I do with our tablet view, this won't impact or affect the ones that we did for our desktop view, and vice versa. Now that our page is actually beautiful and device responsive, I'm already very happy. And actually, creating sites and pages is possible with our existing product. But normally, it's developers who does that, as this requires technical skills like CSS coding. But as you can see in Design Studio, we empower business users, designers, content authors, and general marketers to build their page without the need to code, and in just a span of few minutes. I guess that's it. So I hope you enjoyed our short exploration of our Design Studio, and we're hoping to hear from you. Together, let's make Design Studio a tool that's more enjoyable and fun to build our sites from. Thank you. This time, let me hand you over with Mike so we'll know the bright future or what's next for our Design Studio.
Well, yeah, no, that is great. We actually, we've done a lot of work on this Design Studio, and it's been kind of in the works for a rather short time. After having started this year, we got started. What I can tell you is current roadmap and things that we have in flight that are going to be showing up very soon. We're going to get access to additional capabilities relative to the authentication and kind of that rich authenticated experience that we know and love DX for. Of course, pulling in applications and the ability to aggregate those applications and content side by side in the experience. We're making use of a new rendering model for when you publish the content. In this case, I kind of mentioned up front that we're not using Portal to store the pages. We are actually rendering directly out of the Wickham servlet. So ultimately, this actually collapses that rendering down into that single kind of Wickham servlet rendering, and makes it so that all of the content in its entirety of the page are going to be represented as Wickham content within libraries that can be syndicated, for instance, into a production footprint. We're going to look and kind of unpack the necessary SEO enablers, right? Tooling that's going to allow for the desired search engine optimization, and we'll also be looking at refactoring search, in support of not only the Design Studio project, but the broader DX experience. We are going to be adding the lifecycle management capabilities that are necessary for these properties to allow for the workflow and kind of governance of the content, pages, and so on into the experience as well. And likely providing a better view of the entire content and page kind of workflow and life cycle, so that everybody is always aware of where is this page in the flow, where's that page, who maybe needs to approve here, or how old has it become, that sort of thing. So we'll be adding that capability. And that's one that we're going to be careful to make sure that we're adding the appropriate feature set to. Obviously we're going to be able to support multiple sites, with the beta. You'll have a single site approach only, because we were focused on the actual page editor kind of tooling up front. We're going to introduce different rendering models as capabilities. So when I hit that publish button, it could be the case that I need to, render as per usual out of either the Wickham servlet or create a portal from it. But it also might be the case that I want to generate an SPA or augment an existing SPA. We're going to be introducing and have so far introduced additional new Wickham nodes or elements into the mix so that we can, make use of all of the power of the web content management that's already in existence. But it's very likely you'll see additional elements coming out. Obviously, we are going to involve, additional kind of assets as well into the experience and be able to make use of the digital asset manager, not only just for the site management or the design studio projects, but also those assets will be involved in that workflow and kind of governance model that that I mentioned as well. We're going to add some customization capabilities to the preview button. So, for instance, if you wanted to make use of a content fragment in, let's say, a remote commerce site, for instance, you'd be able to have a preview button that was customized and showed you that content as if it was a fragment being rendered inside of a different mobile application or remote application, I should say. We will pull in some net new capability around branding governance and basically introduce a design system into the mix that's going to allow for, like I say, the governing of the branding and layout and look and feel of these properties. Of course, we'll pull in some capability around analyzing the content that's already in use on the site, right? So these content analytics will also involve not only an understanding of what's out there, how long has it been there, and so on, allow some reporting capabilities, but will also, make available some bulk editing capabilities. And then beyond that, we want to pull all of this sort of activity together to provide the practitioner that's having to manage these experiences with kind of a dashboard, a place that they can go and have a real-time kind of understanding of what's going on, what maybe needs some editing, how is the content being received via the analytics and all of that, so that you have essentially a one-stop shop to be able to go and kick off the kind of day-to-day activity that's necessary in managing these things. And then, of course, beyond that, we're very, very API driven. We're kind of API first at this point. At the moment, we'll first start with the APIs and the design, and then we'll merge those two together, put them into the interface and ship them. So we have somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think, just short of 300 net new APIs that have been introduced recently, and we're going to see quite a few more added into the mix as well. These APIs are also, we should note, going to enable much more capable headless experience, extending the headless experience we already are able to support today. I just wanted to kind of point out, actually, prior to adjourning here, that we are actually looking for that feedback, and we are very busily trying to get folks to have a look at this design studio, play with it, and try and get some initial impressions back to us. That's how we're gonna figure out what comes next in our backlogs, but that's also how we're going to achieve the maximum benefit for all of the customers that might be making use of this. So I really appreciate the time today. Thank you.
Gentlemen, good afternoon. This is a really awesome opportunity, I think, that we have to all come together today and as part of our DX launch event, summer event, just to pull some great colleagues, friends, and partners in crime over the many, many years here, with Joe Schuster joining us, Mark Ekman, Dave Nye, and Craig Kaufman. Gentlemen, welcome. I am your host and sponsor here for our little jam session about our DX Accelerator program and really what we mean by that. And I thought, maybe I'd preface this. We talked about it in our sessions, during this launch event. And what struck me was, I think it's more about the people that are in it, and I thought maybe it would be a great opportunity for us to just kind of off the cuff describe it to our clients and partners and our prospects out there. But to begin, you all just joined, within the last year and a half or so, and we all come from the digital agency world, right? I think we have over 100 years experience just with the 5 of us here, which is shocking. I shouldn't add that up. I got to stop adding that up. But that's not really the point. I think the point is, we all came to HCL, and one thing I think all resonated with us was this mantra that HCL has, which is relationship beyond the contract. And, a lot of us said, okay, what is that? How does that manifest? How does that become manifest? Well, yeah, maybe I'll start with you, Mark, just in you joining as our head of our customer experience studio, and that's one of the Accelerator programs that we have. Do you want to maybe spend a minute describing it? And let's just open it up. That's one of our offers to clients where we can come in and really work with them. To you, what does it mean? And, why did that excite you to join HCL software after years and years in consulting?
Sure, Gary. Well, to start with, it's an incredibly exciting and pretty broad-based opportunity to actually do consulting without some of the pain in the butt overhead that comes from being part of a consulting firm. No timesheets, no billable hours, things like that. But then also, it's something where we've got customers who have invested in HCL, in our platforms, and are working with a variety of internal and external partners. And we have an opportunity to come in and supplement, offering a point of view, offering a perspective, doing some targeted research, but all the interesting aspects of consulting focused on values and outcome without necessarily having to position the next follow-up implementation project or worry about too much positioning. And I think that at least in the 4 months that I've been here, the customers and prospective customers I've had a chance to work with have really appreciated it. I mean, we come in bringing to bear a combination of business consulting, design, and product knowledge, and just try to identify new opportunities, ways to get more value from the platform. But it's a constant challenge. We get a chance to work across industries, across business models, share things from one industry to another. So it's frankly even more variety than I had in my consulting career, which is awesome.
And for all of you, and whoever wants to chime in, it leads me to a point that I often forget, which is in the software business, half my career's been in software on this side of it, half's been in implementation, just about equal, which is odd. And I'm 90 years old, so. But what's really cool about it is what clients really love is the knowledge we've gained from seeing so many diverse clients, right? And it's not that we give up any specific IP about client A over to client B. We don't do that, but we see patterns. We see models. We see ideas and thoughts that work. If anything, we learn how they go about solving a particular problem. We can help other clients with that without giving up any IP at all. But I think when we come at it from the consulting lens and delivery lens, not just consulting, but delivery, all of us have been in delivery, making this stuff live. How do you see that, Dave, Joe, Craig, over to you guys, helping us bring really valuable ideas to clients across the spectrum? And in the studio, right, the accelerators, we've got the customer experience studio. We have everything down to going cloud native to how to solve for complexity. How do you guys see it?
Well, I mean, let me jump in first. So, like you said, I think best practices, right, is cross industry, right, cross clients. So, one of the, I grew up, from in Beijing, China, and as a Chinese immigrant, we were, we can only be a lawyer, a doctor, or engineer, right? So I picked the engineering route, and so when I first got into the consulting world in the advertising space, my parents were like, "What the hell are you doing?" Right? But then since then, over the last 25 years, I realized it's actually one of the best things I've done, right? Because it allows you to see so many different businesses, so many different sets of challenges, right? People say, history repeats itself, right? If you study enough history, you can avoid some of the shortcomings in the future, right? And the notion of relationship beyond the contract is really something that I've noticed, right? I've worked with many platform providers in terms of partnership, building the capabilities in the consulting organizations and our agencies, right? And this team, the product team, makes a huge difference, right? Which sellers you're working with on a particular vendor, right? The ones that we can really collaborate on solving, not just selling a license, but solving a problem for a client is where we both win really well, right? So now on the HCL side, we know, I think we know how to be a good partner and how to be not so good a partner or a provider, right? And where we're investing, in the cloud native side from a product standpoint, but beyond just product, right? Is the hand holding for our clients, right? As they contemplate upgrading, trying out new things, how does that marry to their overall cloud strategy, right? This is something that we can help our client organizations to think through, right? 3 or 4 hours with us at the beginning of the project, at the beginning of the ideation of that phase, will probably save you months and hundreds of thousands of dollars on that, right?
That's the big point. Yeah.
Comes down, Gary. I mean, I think a lot of it, the vision that you had, which was so different than a lot of the other software companies that are out there, which is creating this studio, right? And a studio that's focused on beyond the contract through the business lens. I mean, there was just a significant need. And I think that, it was a great vision being here over a year, seeing it come to fruition and these types of these discussions that we're having, the ideation that we're doing with clients and the end result, it's introducing us to, much broader base of the business leadership and the clients that we're working with. And based on that, we're getting, one situation that we had with a client is by doing that, it introduced us to an opportunity globally with that organization to then be able to support and respond to an RFP. And there's so many examples like this where we're coming in, we're teeing it up. We've always been very partner focused. And I think that with that being the case, that what we're doing is getting out there. And Mark, to your point, we're kind of teeing it up, but we're not taking it all the way through. We're teeing it up, collaborating with our partners to allow them to take it to build and grow from there and to have us there as a partner to support it. So, the vision originally that was what brought me here, but after being here a year and seeing the results of what we're doing, and we're just getting going, it's phenomenal. So, anyway, great ride so far and good results from what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gary, to your point about just the experience, and I think Mark was talking about like best practices and the things that we're able to see. I think also important are the gaps that we're able to see, right? The challenges that the clients face that are repetitive. And it was part of the presentation that I just did. So anyone who sat through the session on moments that matter, really what that was about that gap between front stage and backstage. Now, that concept of front stage, backstage is from my consulting life, right? I've had numerous conversations with clients about it. But really, DX positioning and the unique aspects of DX with Portal and the CMS and bringing those pieces together, right, to be able to close that gap. And that comes from the pattern recognition of being able to see time and time again where our clients struggle with being able to get to some of their back-end processes and the like, and how a DX can help solve that problem. Ultimately, that's to me, the value of what's coming from the accelerators, right? These different ways you're bringing all this experience. We've seen a number of things in our careers, but we've also seen those gaps and being able to help get the value from the platform you're likely already invested in to
Yep.
be able to close that gap. That's really, to me, that's what excited me about the opportunity of coming to HCL. It was beyond just, hey, here's the product, here's the features and functions. It's really about problem solving, right? That relationship above the contract, like really getting into what's your challenge. Here's how we can help. And oh, by the way, you've got this capability in the product, or likely, the opposite is, hey, if you got this challenge and it's not in the product, we're with HCL, we'll get that right into the development stream, right? There's probably people on this call that have seen a challenge solved based on feedback coming through a process of, talking with us, and we can get that into the product development lifecycle quickly, much quicker than, our competition. So, that to me is that being able to have that impact on the client, their business, deliver value out of the product and everything else, that, to me, that's exciting. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah, and it doesn't take, we talk about the studio and, enter the customer experience studio, right? That could be anything from we go and spend, 8, 12, 16, 20 hours of research and come in a 1-hour presentation and present 4 or 5 key initiatives and points, right? And we just did that with a major client, global client, right? And it was with their chief digital officer and his entire leadership team. What came out of that was, we want your point of view on what we're doing around data-driven insights and automation to drive better engagement, front stage, backstage, ultimately to transact. So in that case, it's an end-to-end loyalty loop journey, right? It could be that down to, we will stand up sets of resources that will be with you for 3 months over a period of incremental time, right? It wouldn't be dedicated project time. It's not like that, but it's more, we are investing and putting our resources in. And then that gives us the ability to have what our technical advisors and our architects, what they focus on. But it's always driven from the top level of, I'm looking to solve a design problem, which is somebody else is selling my part, OEMing, and somebody else is buying parts that are third party, OEM'd, not my parts, right? Or my dealers are uninformed and don't know how to tackle that problem. And I need to make them informed and get them access to insight and information around that. That's the kind of problems we're talking about solving. And that, when you look at the site, that's the kind of numbers our clients are seeing when we engage with them at that level. They're getting real returns from healthcare to financial services, all of it, right? And what's cool, I'll just add to this, and maybe my final thought. Darren Oberst, our CEO, and Doug Snadicki, my boss, right, who runs go-to-market. They've embraced this approach. We spend more time talking about this. We don't need to go through all the numbers on, that's, to your point, if we can work that at that level with our clients, the ones that want to work with us, they're going to see the outcomes beat their competition, which is what our goal is. How do we help our clients pace their competition? As a result, our product gets better, and organically our revenue grows because we're driving outcomes. I think that's the long way to think, the long game.
Gary, into that, it's not just leadership, that has embraced this. We've embraced this, and it's how we hire, right? So the product specialists, the technical advisors, all of us are working and bring a point of view around how to work with our customers, right? That partnering and wanting to kind of solve, their business challenge. And that's what we're looking for when we're bringing people onto the team. So it goes beyond just us. It actually is an extension down to our team, from leadership to us to our teams. And I will tell you, anyone on this call, where if you're working with one of the product specialists or technical advisors, they would back me up on this, and they aren't, sharing or asking you about your business or sharing how we can help, close a gap or whatever else, let us know. But I know that they are, because that's exactly what we were talking to them about, is we need to get a better understanding of our client's business and their challenges, so we can help them solve. And that's really where we'll deliver value. And ultimately, if you're a partner listening to this, right, it really kind of creates opportunities for our partners as well. The more we learn, we know we don't have the delivery capability that they do to truly take what we might see as a solution and actualize it. And that's where we need our partners to help us.
Yeah,
that's you.
And Joe, I think you're making a great point there, because I think so much of this obviously is what we can do for our clients, our customers, and prospects. But taking that same collaborative mentality and understanding their business, taking that out to the business partners as well, and really looking at what we jointly can do to solve that problem, and then taking and offering out to market that solves that problem, and then we tweak it, refine it, rinse, repeat, sell it to the next person. But it is that long-term trusted relationship, not just from a customer perspective, but with a business partner. I've always said before that a tier one customer and a tier one business partner, we should treat the same. We should put the same executive level support in to really make that work.
So if I summarize it, I think we're really hitting on the points of what is the DX Accelerator program. Forget about the names of the workshops. Forget about any of those things, right? Let's not even call them that. Really what it's about is about people. And it's people that come at it with infinite curiosity, that are open to creative ideas. I call it a creative democracy, which is great ideas come from anywhere. If you open your mind and think openly about a design problem, real creative thinking and critical thinking comes out of those kinds of sessions. And I think the way we manifest it, the customer experience studios to work at that kind of level. But then we have the cloud native workshop, right? Where we say, okay, how am I going to deliver all this and consume it? Is this going to be on-prem? Is it hybrid? Where is it so I can reduce TCO to get the benefit and gains out of the technology, right, Dave? That's where your whole, as the CTO, your whole organization comes into play. And then solving for complexity almost sort of marries that up a little bit altogether. It's a bit more tactical and said, how am I going to bring forth 50 backstage processes to be able to support an end-to-end customer engagement beyond just, I can get this far and I got to pick up the phone and make a call, right?
Right. Or my example in my talk, right? I had to fax something or mail it, right? Like those are my options. So yes, we want to solve that problem.
People keep asking me what's in those cabinets, and one of them is a fax machine. I'm just saying. Oh, it's one of those. But then you hook it up to your voice over IP thing at home, and it doesn't work. I have a landline, but it's VoIP, right? It's not quality enough, so it won't send the faxes. We have to go up to a shop that's got a fax. It's horrible. Anyway, I digress. I'm thrilled to be able to be joined with you guys today for a few minutes to talk about this. I think for everyone out there, what you should know is, we've got a fabulous team of really subject matter experts in the studio. It's north of 20 people, different backgrounds and experiences, from CMOs to people that are experts in customer journey, through to insights and awareness, to data-driven experiences, through building these experiences through HCL DX, and ultimately being able to, if the transactionality comes to play, ultimately into commerce. It really isn't about the products that do it. It's about how we manifest a better outcome for you. So that's what this is all about at the end of the day. So more to come. Any last words? At least for today.
Covered it. Fill out the form. Click on the button. Fill out the form. We want to talk to you.
We want to talk to you. Cost you nothing. A little bit of time.
So that's the transaction. Then we just want to handle what's beyond that.
Well, to our clients, prospects, our business partners especially, and all those, thank you very much for spending a few minutes. Mark, Joe, Dave, Craig, always a pleasure.
Awesome, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks everybody.
Great, we're live. Welcome, everyone. We're happy to, terrific, here comes everybody. Welcome to the rapid fire Q&A, the developer edition session. And in just a second, you'll see the team that we have assembled for you. This is really a dream team of our DX engineers. But first, thank you so much, and they're starting to appear on our screens. Thank you all so much for your participation today. And I've watched the questions come in. You all are experts, and we really thank you for your contributions so far, and are looking forward to, talking with you, interacting through the session, and talking with you a bit more about, what you've heard this morning, where we're taking the solution, really any question that you have for our developer team. With me today is Dan McCoo and a host of other DX engineering experts, and we'll be leading you through the question and answer. Dan, you want to say anything about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. Just happy to be here. My name's Dan McCoo. I lead our services team around DX here at HCL, and I will be your co-host for the next half hour here.
Terrific. Okay, great. Thank you. Well, as you can see here, we have a whole host of experts from our team. And again, I'm happy to work with a lot of you. I've been product manager for our DX solutions at IBM and here as well. And we've been delighted to issue a number of releases that have offered such valuable capabilities for you. And your feedback has helped influence that as always. So you can see here a broad spectrum of engineers from our worldwide team, and they'll be helping us answer the questions today. A number of them have already presented the latest in HCL DX solutions about to release to you earlier this morning. And so with that, I think we can proceed to the next slide. And this session is really yours. The instructions we have are to continue to do what you're doing, and we will address the questions that you have. Keep asking them in the chat, and we will hand it off to the expert and get a full response for you. And this will be a verbal response because, again, as you can see, we are live and we're happy to be there. So Jan, do we see any questions in the chat?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
I will.
Let's see.
I'll let you know when one comes in.
Okay, great. All right. Well, there are a number that we've had, but let me first turn it over to our team. We've got a number of folks on hand here. Any questions that come to mind that you want to share with our audience as valuable insight? If not, we can go to some of the questions that we have. It's been a long day. All right, let's see. We do have a few that people have submitted so far, and so we can start with those, and I'm sure that will spark a conversation. One has been addressed a bit in the chat already, but I think it would be nice to offer some verbal comments on this. So one is in our slides that we will share with you after this session. The question is, we're installed to DX 8.5, cumulative fix 16, and want to upgrade to 9.5, and specifically the containers. What do we need to do to prepare? And I'll let the team sort of self-select who wants to answer that. I can think of a couple experts.
Well, the short answer is you don't have to do anything. Going from 8.5 to 9.5 is just simply an install, and if you do it in place, you've got it.
A little bit more. I think some of the questions have been, Alex, do I need to start with 8.5? Do I need to go from 9 to 9.5, or I can simply run the install in 8.5 and that will get me to 9.5?
Correct. You don't. The prereqs are really simple. If
Okay.
you've got 8.5 CF16 minimum,
Mm-hmm.
you can just simply install 9.5.
That sounds pretty easy. And if I want to move to container deployments, a little bit more involved, I think, and perhaps that's more of a.
Use the staging pattern that you used to move, for instance, from, let's say, a development to a test or a production environment. So the same tools apply there as well, like syndication or XML access and similar. So it should be the tools that you're already used to. You can move to the containers and then test your application out there.
Great. Thank you very much. There's another question we had, which is, where can I find sample applications for DX components such as script application, file sync, web developer toolkit, Docker Compose, which we talked about earlier today, for non-production use. Anybody want to say a few words about our GitHub repository and our plans for that? I don't know, Tim Pedler, if you're still on, perhaps you could take that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we actually, like some months ago, actually, we started to post some of the mainly developer tools out in our GitHub repository, and I'm sure there's also, I mean, there were links even in the presentations we saw earlier that will point you to that. Just recently, we pushed out the Docker Compose scripting that will also enable you as developers to more easily sort of get started and also develop with HCL DX. And I mean, we will continue to do so, right? With even more projects that we will open source via GitHub. So I can't really announce anything yet, but I mean, stay tuned. There's more to come.
Fantastic. So much go. And it's for those of us who remember the solutions catalog at IBM. This is the replacement, and the good thing is it lets you contribute and also interact with the folks that post. It's been a great resource and one that's been built up from the ground up, and the team continues to contribute, and you provided some great insights for us. That's great. Dan, any questions you want to raise or query for?
I was just going to say we do have one that's come in, and that is, what is the roadmap for Content Composer in relation to the old authoring portlet? And maybe I'll throw in, how does Design Studio fit into that picture as well?
Good question. So the question is, Content Composer, what's the roadmap for it? How does it compare to our existing Content Manager tool? And how does Design Studio fit in? That may be multiple of our experts kind of contributing to that. Mike, do you have some thoughts there?
Yeah, I was going to say I can't wait to hear the answer. No, it's okay. So I guess we'll start with
everyone.
So Content Composer. Ultimately we're going to continually kind of add features into that. I don't know that we've stated directly that eventually we want to replace the Wickham authoring portlet, which is kind of where it sounds like the theme is to that question. But ultimately, we're going to continue to add features to Content Composer. It's currently well suited for, kind of that headless content experience, and that's kind of where we're anticipating it's going to be used for a while. Ultimately, it also happens to offer, a fairly easy to use, low learning curve type of an interface for the lighter kind of content authors. So with that in mind, that's where we're going to continue to evolve and make use of that tool. And then the extended part of that question relative to Design Studio, ultimately those two things kind of exist hand in hand at the moment. Design Studio will be a way that you can generate not only the content but the sites, the pages, the various artifacts, or even, for instance, in a headless scenario, fragments of HTML that might be used in conjunction with an SPA or some external rendering model. So ultimately, that's kind of, we're going to see those two, I think, in some way come together a little bit more meaningfully. But I don't know that we've really decided what is the future state of the authoring portlet relative to Content Composer.
Sounds sensible. I don't know if there are any following questions about that. Yeah. And to my mind too, Design Studio, really starts to address a lot of the requests that we've received over the years, especially as folks work with the combination of portal and then content added on top of that. That left some things to address that Design Studio squarely is targeted to do. So I know a lot of good thinking has gone into that. And I believe folks that work with Design Studio in beta, which is coming out in days, so get ready, if you want to provide feedback, our support team leads are very interested, and so they'll take your feedback directly, open a case, open a discussion, and it comes right to Mike and the offering team, including myself, and we'll act on it. So we really look forward to that interaction, and that's sort of the official process for Design Studio Beta, which comes out again in days. Great. And again, if there are questions coming in to the chat.
Yeah, so there's another one here, Lauren,
right.
or the next, there's a couple of them. So the next one was, is there any improvement on application development using JSR 286? So I guess relative to, Java portlets.
You probably need more specific about the features that the contact is interested in. I'm not quite sure how to tackle that generically. I don't know, panel, any thoughts there?
Yeah, there's going to have to be some more clarification, because when you talk about writing apps, that's really rad. But when you talk about the use of the APIs, that's Portal. We haven't done anything in Portal to enhance the JSR 286 APIs. That's spec-driven anyway, and I can't speak for anything that's been done in RAD.
Right. I think we'd focus on the functionality needed from JSR 286 that you can't today. I suppose would be the right question to ask there. Maybe we'll get a follow-up there.
I think we're also interested in
our JSR
more
286
customers.
is a full implementation of the spec.
I think we're also interested in, like, if you're still interested in new development on Java portlets, we want to hear from you on that, to give us some input as well for our future investments as well. So I think we're appreciative there are folks can reach out to us.
Yep, that'd be great. I'm seeing a couple of other questions come in. We all are, I think. Any plans to publish auto deploy again? I don't know if the team needs more context there.
I mean, I can take that real quick. I mean,
awesome. Thanks.
I mean, auto deploy was like has not been a part of the product. So I mean, that was always a services asset back in the IBM days, right? Developed by the IBM services team. There's no plan to make that part of the product. I mean, and maybe sorry for that, but Dan, maybe that's something that you might want to look at in the future to sort of go back to auto deploy, but currently there's no plan.
Yeah, we can certainly look at that from a services point of view, assuming that we have rights to it and everything. So,
I mean, hopefully the DX client tool that we have published will also be somewhat helpful with some of these tasks that you might have had in the past with the auto deploy. So if there's something missing there, we're also interested on that and what we could add to DX client to make that more powerful to fill any gaps. But we're all looking at staging as well for DX client in the future.
Maybe two more words to that. I mean, auto deploy, the intention behind auto deploy was really to be able to manage, configure vast environments, right? As they were there back in the days on when we just purely deployed on premise, if you will. I mean, that also shifts now with Kubernetes and with Helm and all these new sort of technologies. So that, I mean, what auto deploy used to deliver is, I mean, it's not anymore necessary in that sense, or I guess it was sort of replaced now with different technologies. So I think it would be great to understand sort of what's currently or what's still missing with the new technologies that was there with auto deploy, and that basically would also tell us what we need to add on top of what we are already delivering.
Great. Any follow-up to that? Okay. There's another question about Content Composer. I think this has been covered, but the questioner is correct. Content Composer is a component that is built as a cloud native component. So it does work on when deployed to the supported platforms that DX v9.5 supports, which are OpenShift, Red Hat OpenShift, and 3 flavors of Kubernetes. So you're right, it can't be installed on premises. I don't know if any of the experts want to speak more to that.
It is supported in a hybrid scenario. So if you have
Good point.
an on-prem deployment, you want to just maybe like wet your feet in containers, you could try it out with Content Composer.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Solution Factory would be another way to gain some experience with Content Composer if deploying it on a container platform is not an option for you somehow. Great point. Okay.
I think the next one was, is there any support for Portlet API 3 planned?
The short answer is no, and none currently planned.
Yeah, I think a follow-on would be what if that API
3 is the same
deployment? Yeah.
Well, I was going to just say, for folks who don't realize, API 3 is the same thing as JSR 362.
Thank you. Great. All right. Great questions. Keep them coming, everyone. We have one on the Experience API that was introduced in 9.5. You know, if I'm developing solutions for 9.5, when should I use the Experience API, and how do the new version 2 REST APIs fit into that? A number of you could speak to that. I'll suggest Thomas, but you know, any of you can take that.
Yeah. So I'll take a shot at that. So the V2 APIs for Wickham, as Thomas mentioned in his presentation earlier, they were completely redesigned to be more user-friendly and more efficient. So I would say if you're starting to look at developing stuff against Wickham, I would look at the V2 APIs. If it's just other stuff in core or things like that, then you would probably consider using the Experience API.
Great. And for those looking forward to that, you'll see the Wickham V2 APIs in CF 196 in beta in just a few days. So look forward to that. Ooh, lots of questions coming in. Dan, you want to?
If you're on-premise, if you have an on-premise deployment, the Wickham V2 API is available there, including the API Explorer. So it can be, in case you're not on containers yet, or still looking at that, you can use those APIs also on-prem.
Again, lots of possibilities. Great point, as always. Dan, you want to pick up some questions?
Yeah, let's see. The next one I'm seeing here is, what is the roadmap for the portal theme? And will it be possible in the future to just easily update a module or file instead of deploying a complete theme?
Great questions.
I'll take a shot at that. We have been long hoping to make some changes to the portal theme, but I can't really say that there's a roadmap for that right now. We've talked about adding SaaS support. We've talked about, doing some changes in Wickham to, run the theme from there. But there's really not a roadmap in place right now that I know of.
Well, and I guess kind of to extend on that, Sarah, there is the theme editor that's available now. So if it's making a change to just a single file of the theme, that can be done in the theme editor itself without the need to redeploy the entire theme.
Definitely. Thanks for bringing that up, Brian. I should have mentioned that. Yes, that is brand new, and it does make changing the static resources much, much easier than it used to be, since you can now do it in the context of, the administration.
So for those of you on premises platforms, you'll see detail on the theme editor with CF196, which is coming up again in days, as I've said a few times. So great point. Yep. So there's some progress, and we're definitely interested in continued feedback on that.
Brian, do you want to say a few words about Site Manager and our Design Studio in terms of we'll eventually have a theme-like appearance with a header and footer that can be reused?
Yeah, so as part of the roadmap for Site Manager or Design Studio is we will have reusable content containers. So the idea is that you could build the header and the footer as containers and then apply those to page templates that could be reused throughout the site. When it has been mentioned several times, Design Studio is still kind of in its beta phase. We're in the the beginning of development of this, so those are features that we are looking forward to implementing in the future.
Great. So lots of good updates coming in that direction. Let's see. Dan, you may be seeing other. I'm looking at our sort of internal chat here, and I appreciate the help.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got a couple more here. I guess the next one in line is there any chance HCL will bring a NLP, which I think is natural language processing, chatbot solution to use Experience API?
I'll take that one. So ultimately, we have some samples of some kind of modern chatbots, for instance, that the TA team actually has, and ultimately they're making use of kind of modern frameworks like React and so on. Those actually, as we're actually having a launch, not only the product today, but the learning management system, and alongside that, there's some kind of courseware that might be able to help to plug those things into NLP, engine of choice. Ultimately, I suspect that and I can't, say exactly when or what the timeline actually looks like, but in the relatively near future, you'll see some of those assets on the TA team that are plugged in to that NLP engine, or to at least a sample NLP engine that is going to be made use of, and I would suspect additionally some tutorial content for that. Ultimately, I think that actually extends into the last question too, where you might see a couple of kind of sample themes and maybe some learning around that as well. So stay tuned for that. If you have specific questions or if you have an immediate interest, definitely reach out to to us, and we will get started.
Great. And we do have a few partners that have developed chatbot solutions, not necessarily NLP specific, but they're ones that can be built on for sure. And a few of our customers have used those. So lots going on there. Thanks. I see a question about data privacy and role-based access. We might need a little bit more detail about what you're trying to accomplish there, and we can help with that. I don't know if anybody has generic remarks on that. Certainly, our components are built to let customers, ensure compliance with, say, GDPR. Role-based access is very granular in our solution. So we think we've got the building blocks for what you need. And perhaps it's just pointing you to where those resources are. I see Jason. Well, it's not a security question per se, but you know everything. Any or others? Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, thanks. I think we're well covered there. So yeah, good. Alrighty. But anybody who wants to jump in there, please do.
So yeah,
there's. Go ahead, please.
Did you feel like it was addressed, Lauren?
So I think so. Yeah, I think so. But folks should post again if that's something of greater interest, because we're certainly happy to jump in further. We had a great presentation. In fact, it repeated a bit, which was, I think, an advantage. Terrific, on our upcoming Helm deployment with DX CF196. It's supported initially on Google Kubernetes engine. Anybody want to speak to the advantages of that? Did we cover that sufficiently in the first session? There are a couple of questions, but I know there were lots of interactions earlier in the day. So, this is an invitation for the team to speak a little bit more about why we chose Helm, and how we think it's going to help you going forward. If not, we can move on to the next questions.
I mean, Helm is pretty much an industry standard. A lot of people use it. It's declarative. It gives a lot of ability to see what your deployment is doing, and for customers to modify it to meet their specific requirements. So we saw it as really the opposite of a black box solution, to make it our deployments as open and configurable as possible.
I think those are good motivations, and then hopefully people will appreciate that greater control. Terrific. All right, any other remarks there? Let's see. A few more minutes. I think we've also covered the how to update Helm to Helm, which is coming. Initially when we issue Helm with 196, you'll be able to deploy new deployments to it, and in releases to come later, we'll provide that support for upgrading from existing container-based platforms, which were deployed using DXCTL. So that congruence will be coming a little bit later, certainly second half this year. And we look forward to your feedback on this approach, and on our documentation, for example. We learn every release from you in terms of what we need to do to help you, how we can make it easier. And certainly Helm is a big step there. Looking for some other, I'm not sure if other questions have come in from the active chat. Interesting. Is question 12 also, let's see. What's the future of HCL Portal or HCL Digital Experience, which includes HCL Portal and Web Content Manager? With so many competitors in the market, we probably need a little bit more about what you're considering, but we see a very strong future. And we have we're proud to announce a number of recognitions in the marketplace from analysts. So yeah, I think with a little bit more information about your particular questions, we're happy to address that. I don't know, Mike, if you want to say something else on that question.
Well, I guess the answer could go a couple of different directions, depending on if you're meaning Portal or DX. Ultimately, both. I think what you said, Lauren. I think there's quite a bright future. There's definitely maybe a kind of a platform evolution. Not that doesn't take away from the function, the capability, the kind of secure, more than a website type of capability that we have on the broader platform. So definitely looking at a bright future. So if you have any clarification on whether or not it's Portal or DX on the whole, that'd be great.
Yeah. The other thing I'm thinking about is, of course, we have a few more minutes for this technical team, which is like the dream team of technical leads on the digital experience platform. So take advantage of that. If you still have questions, that may be a question for the next session, which is going to be a live Q&A with the DX executives. That may be something that they might have more remarks on. So if you want to keep that for the next session too, that may be a better place to put it. But again, we've got thousands of customers using HCL DX. We bring a strong heritage over from IBM, and we've made a lot of investments and offered many enhancements, and we look forward to continuing to do that with your partnership and contributions and ideas. So let's see. We also talked a bit already. I do have a question about CI/CD pipeline samples, which continue to be released with each of our CF releases, which have been coming along mostly monthly. Now they're on more of a 6-week cadence, and as we've mentioned earlier, on-premises based customers as well as container-based customers, and you're probably a hybrid, can look forward to updates for each of those solutions going forward. So CF 196 will have things for folks deployed on premises as well as container, and that'll be the mode going forward. But the team has continued to deliver some great release pipeline samples under the CI/CD area for managed syndication, deployed themes, script applications, restart server. There's going to be a reference implementation which takes from staging to production. A lot of things you've been asking us for over time, so we're pretty excited about that. And look forward to your feedback. So if you've got other questions on that, please ask them in the chat. I don't know if folks have any other remarks on that. Let's see. It's been a long morning. Get that too. Let's see. Hey, Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about Solution Factory, Sophie? What is it? What can you do there? What are some of the advantages?
Yeah, so I guess, looking at directly related to the Helm conversation, actually, I think.
Yes, good point. Yeah.
Solution Factory is, essentially a way to, for our customers to be able to go out and access essentially an interface that will allow you to select from, various APIs and platforms, kind of intermingle, create your menu of, components that will actually generate the Helm charts and kind of all the scripts necessary to be able to spin up the containers relative to those that you selected. So essentially creating a solution footprint that would allow you to then spin that up, and relevant configuration added into the mix so that those containers would spin up and create that solution. So ultimately, if you had need of, for instance, digital experience alongside commerce, you can put those two into a solution, deploy them, and it kind of it greatly speeds up the deployment process, the integration process, and so on. As it's in its early days at the moment. It's a great platform. One other opportunity it allows for is to be able to say spin one of those platforms or one to n of those platforms up and see them run in a sandbox environment that would allow for you to go out and, for instance, have a look at some of the new features and capabilities that are in those platforms. So
it's a terrific. Yeah, I agree. And again, it's really it's truly point and click. If you want to see what a deployment looks like and see the the operations interface without doing all the work to get yourself there, Solution Factory and using some of the DX demo examples, literally you click deploy and it deploys for you in a matter about 45 minutes. You've got a working DX platform and some scenarios that will help you learn, and you can see all the operations. So if you want to understand what things look like, to understand the capabilities and all the monitoring and management you'll see, it's a great way to go. So we do recommend just HCL Sophie. We'll have that in this presentation, which again will include a lot of the questions and answers we've had today. We'll be providing that for you as a takeaway for participating today. Looking forward to some other questions if we have any. I know we have a few more minutes, maybe 2, Dimitri, if you're keeping us on track here. It's about right. 1 minute. All right.
Yeah,
so
one more question here, Lauren. Says, when using containers, how does HCL track the containers that are running in production in terms of licensing awareness?
Let's see. Today we have capacity sizing, which if you work with your local seller, based on our PVU metric, which is what we have today. We are looking at new consumption-based metrics that will help you measure your usage of DX, in a consumption-based way. We don't have anything to announce today, but we recognize the challenge of monitoring the ups and downs of containers in a deployment environment. So that is something that we are looking at and hope to have more information on soon. So really two answers. One is there is size and capability available for you through our technical advisors and sellers for you to be able to size according to PVUs, which is the existing sales metric. And we are looking towards more appropriate consumption-based licensing for those running on container-based platforms. That'll make it a lot simpler. We think you'll really like it. And if you'd like to work with us to evaluate that, just reach out. Great. Good question. And they've come all day long. We really thank you. Any other final questions? I don't know if we have time.
Don't see anything further.
All right.
In the chat. So.
All right. Terrific. All righty.
Okay. Great job, people.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Great job, computers. Thank you so much. We look forward to working with you. Thanks very much.
Gary, you're all alone.
I'm all alone. I've been told that by many. Andrew.
I'm here. I really enjoyed your session today, Gary.
Hey, we have fun. If we don't have fun, what's the point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this next one, ask a leader, get an answer. That's a very open-ended.
Why not?
You have to qualify the scope of the question.
Yeah, we're not going. Hey there, Richard. We're not predicting the stock market.
Well, you never know. You never know.
That's right.
That's very true.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, David, we've got you.
We can hear you.
I'm not going to turn my webcam on. No, well, the thing is, if I put my webcam on, I think the internet connection here is going to explode. Because I'm reveling in 4 megabits a second.
Wow. Wow, just go to the dial-up modem.
Yeah, I wouldn't be quite as quick, right? Remember when 256K was good?
Oh, you had 256K. You knew how to live, David.
Well, absolutely. I paid extra for it.
Yeah.
But I can try it. Let's try and see if it works. I don't know if there's a way to do this with low resolution somehow.
I don't think so. But give it a shot. Let's see.
While we wait for our session to start.
Yeah, well, not only a great day with the announcement, but Gary, I think you've got a whole lot of other things going on right now as well with our quarter close here. So, not only excited about this release, but the great work that I know you and the team are doing right now on getting our quarter wrapped, continuing that momentum.
Yeah, it's as always, working with our clients around the world. We've had such a great number of engagements, going deep with our clients about the problems they're trying to solve, and as a result, they are, using more of what HCL DX powers, and it's really thrilling to be able to work with our clients, not just on what we're doing this quarter, but in all the quarters going out. It's the long game, right? It's if we're in the trenches with our clients, success comes, and that's what we do.
Well, that's a good response, and I think it aligns well with one of the questions, our first questions here around where do we see digital experience DX in 3 years? And so, Andrew, maybe if you could just give us your view, and I know we talk about this on a regular basis, so it's for sure top of mind. But it is one of those things that I think every company and product, you got to find what that North Star is. And I know that between the 4 of us and the broader team, that has been a significant effort. But, yeah, if you wouldn't mind just sharing your thoughts.
Sure, absolutely. It's very, very difficult to predict things, but you do everything you can to, build a model of how customers are using the product today, and Gary's given us some great insight on he's noticing patterns in our customers and our new engagements, really particularly how people are changing the engagement model. They're changing how they drive things behind the login. Particularly sort of thinking about bringing more of a sort of a data-driven closed loop approach. And Gary, I know you know that in spades, right? Because you've got a whole portfolio of things helping people on their customer journey. So as I sort of think, David and I and all the team have been thinking about this is, in order to be able to make those experiences richer, they've got to be more outcome centric, right? Yeah. They may be, you may have multiple touch points throughout an enterprise, right? So, some of those other new channels like mobile, IoT devices, kiosks are going to be more preeminent. I also think, which is sort of interesting, is that, I think in CMS Wire, I saw a review of the market, which I thought was great, Gary, by the way.
Yeah.
And talked about us as a profile, and talked about some of the origins of where, DXPs come from. And I think the things are going to evolve from content, right? And, our mantra is thinking about the intersection of content, process, and applications. And I think, a lot of those things have happened behind the login. But if we want more of the business to be able to compose stuff for themselves, we've got to make things easier for them, not only to integrate with apps that they own, as well as build apps themselves. We've also got to think more about how do we make some of the integrations more out of the box. And on one of the sessions, I heard a lively discussion about, David, JSR spec for developing portlets, right? And which is great, but I think people want plug and play with ServiceNow and Salesforce and all these things. Right. So how do we make that easier to build? Not only wrap the applications you have and build them, but frequently it means creating new processes and making that really easy. So we had this idea about digital experiences at the intersection of process, applications, and content. So I think that's where it's going. I think we've got some exciting thoughts. I think we shared some of those at the beginning, right, David? You had a great scenario, David. I don't know if you just want to give us a thumbnail on that.
The Verbena healthcare toothbrush scenario.
Yes, exactly.
I don't want to mock, because so many of our customers are insurance companies or healthcare scenarios, and what we were trying to do there was paint a picture about how this fictional corporation might deliver a total customer experience. And starting from maybe a content-oriented person, maybe a content strategist, content author, marketer, and then going to other personas who are going to participate with that person in delivering that experience, and each able to fulfill their role around the platform. So a person using our low-code development tools, a classic developer working with events and so on, and the idea is that our platform should enable all of those people to work together, kind of separately and together, if you like. And we think that's where there's a lot of power to be untapped.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'll just add one. Yeah, I'll just add a final point to that. I think, and Andrew, you hit it in the CMS Wire report that just came out. I think just the other day, that reviewed a lot of the platforms. You hit on a key point, which is the organic nature of HCL Digital Experience is rooted in the bringing of what Joe talked about, which is front stage, backstage, how to bring those processes and applications out from behind the login that are in a very secured place so you can take real action. And I thought this notion of building trust and this idea of science of trust, but the fact that our platform is built around that, it lets us expand into these other capabilities to make it easier to integrate things that are, and put a composable architecture in place to where it's faster to build these solutions, as it were, these experiences. It's much, much harder for website platforms and content platforms or commerce platforms that try to do this. It's much more difficult for them to solve the problem. So I think what's beautiful about where we are in our journey is we put these major investments in place to make it easier to bring these applications to life, as it were, through real experiences, and then wrap it with the personalization and data-driven elements that can, here's the content you need to see. And that was the Larry example. It beautifully merged the idea of my claims, brought forward my insurance and all that for being able to process a payment. It brought all that context together, but it still showed me articles that are relevant to me. It still showed me content that was meaningful to me where I am at the journey. You wrap all that around with analytics and discover that we now have Unica, which is really our platform to really listen over the wire, where we can now track things like struggle detection through to things like compliance. Did you actually check on the box that you said you checked on, and we can confirm you did? Those are real things that matter. So I think over the next 3 years, it's really about speed. I don't think we have to architecturally change our whole approach, right?
Yeah, no,
well, speed and modularity, right? That's key. You don't want to have some platform that comes as a monolith and that you have to use all of it to get any value. I mean, we want to be open to the idea that maybe a customer uses a different content management system, but our composition platform still adds value in that circumstance, because it will do certain things that content management system couldn't do by itself. So it's kind of moving the debate up a level into that customer experience area.
Excellent.
Yeah, maybe that's a segue, right? I mean, that idea, David, you talked about of attaching to the innovation team, right? Bringing together the fusion of the developers, the designers, the digital, the ones who are responsible for the digital architecture and engagement, and the marketers together to solve a problem is really what we're trying to solve. So, Gary, I think there's a question here for you, right? Mm-hmm. Which is really, in those moments that matter, how can HCL help, with your DXP and Marcom strategy?
Yeah, and I really am passionate about this, and all of us are on this team, is that we don't think of the world in terms of a product of customer experience. There is no, quote, customer experience product, right? You try to do that and you'll never get things done for clients at the end of the day. There'll always be too many weak points. Our vision is, how can we take what's behind the login and solve for and bring forth things around personalization and engagement closer to the beginning of the journey, right? And our whole team that we have now, which is north of 20, 25 people in that window of really digital agency experienced people, we really want to be able to sit down with our clients and work at the design level around how can we optimize and find a better outcome for you, whether it's engaging your citizens or it's engaging your healthcare members, or whether it's engaging your banking customers and you're trying to engage the millennials or the Gen Zs to come into that banking experience, to do things around gamification around the mortgage loan process for people that are first-time mortgage buyers, changing the experience but still handling all the complexity. That's where our team comes into place. So we can sit with clients today and work through a design level problem. And it could be a session that's an hour long. It could be a session that's 3 weeks in duration, and come out with an expressed demo that illustrates how we'll bring forward that level of engagement. At the end of the day, underneath the covers, it may very well incorporate elements of our Unica portfolio, elements of our analytics portfolio, elements of even commerce. That's not really the point, though. The point is, what problem are we solving? And because of our architecture, we're able to basically bring together those capabilities, support more of the journey. And that's all we want to do with our clients, is how can we help you support more of your customer journey or your dealer journey or your member journey, to really just, as I like to put it, differentiate against your competition, because that's the bar you're trying to hit. Our job is to help you figure that out. That's what our team's here to do. And that's really the whole point of the CX Studio and the Accelerator program we now have, right? That's what the website's about. Come in, register, just sign up. We'll gladly spend 30 minutes with you and come with some ideas.
So maybe expanding a little bit on journey, right? You mentioned that a couple of times. David, we got a question around, we've had a pretty good long journey around cloud native and the investments that we've made there and what we've learned, right, over the last couple of years in that journey. And we have a question
Absolutely.
around if they haven't picked a cloud solution yet, can you tell us what the cloud options are available for DX? And maybe a combo between yourself and Andrew a bit here.
Yeah, sure. Shall I kick it off?
Sure, why not?
Go ahead. So for the last couple of years, we've offered a cloud deployment, which means containerized deployment solution for DX. And we started out with OpenShift. We've since expanded that to cover Amazon, Azure, and Google as well. And that's OpenShift, whether that's OpenShift on premises or OpenShift on one of the cloud platforms as well. We're just in the process of revising that with the release that's going out right around now. So 196, we're going to be moving to a more Helm-based solution, which has the advantage of being much more open and therefore potentially deployable to an even wider range of platforms. We have customers, you'd think that with those 4 major ones, you cover most of the market, and I guess that's true, but we have customers who've invested in, Cisco Cloud Platform or Tanzu or Mirantis or whatever, and we're not really in the business of telling them where they should deploy their software. So our strategy is that Kubernetes offers us the way to be agnostic and to provide, lots of those non-functional requirements that people think of when they talk about cloud, so scalability, quick deployments, all those kind of things, without necessarily being prescriptive about precisely where the software lives.
So, a couple key things, and then I'd love to hear the rest of the feedback. Is just, when I first came over here to HCL, one of the things that I remember hearing a lot of is, we'll walk you when you're ready to the cloud. Right. So there's never been a hyper focus of you need to go there, but when you're ready, we're ready to take you there. And I think that's one of the things you were just discussing, as well as I think choice, right, is so important. And maybe Garrett, you two could comment on that. I'm hearing from clients around that ability for them to make that decision is really important. If you want to expand on that.
Yeah, I mean, and we do today, have cloud native as a service. For clients, right? For some, depending on the application, like commerce and other solutions, we host them and manage them. We understand. We have a team of experts that understand how to deploy in the cloud. But the real key here is, to your point, it's got to be about choice. There's plenty of solutions where data residency, it's got to stay on-prem. That's not going to change. This idea of being able to have it whichever way you want should be a business-driven thing, not a vendor-driven thing where the vendor's saying, I want to show the street how I'm growing my SaaS cloud revenue. Yeah, I've never understood that, right? I mean, that's just not the bar. That's not innovating. That's just putting stuff up in iron in the cloud, whoop-de-woo, right? Are you building me the next generation of capabilities that gives me data privacy, security, and choice? And I think this whole, there's plenty of articles out there to talk about this whole pivot to cloud, and then there's a lot of discussion around repatriating back. So we've all been in this industry for 20 some odd years. I don't want to date any of us, but how many times have we seen this pendulum swing?
Yeah, absolutely, Gary. Right? Yeah, because I think and I think all of us have seen it in our customers is they've chosen DX and they've chosen other products in our portfolio because it meets a very specific customer need. And you talked about behind the login, Gary, and there's those powerful capabilities really need to be tuned and customized to an individual customer. I remember, David, you talked about one customer has over 700 portlets as an example, right? So you're not going to get that in XYZ's multi-tenant SaaS solution, right? So, if you really want something that you're going to be able to get the best multi-experience out of and build that, unique customer journey, then why not do it in your cloud utility of choice, where you can control the security, the residency, and the integration, and we'll tailor, with directly or working with a business partner or yourself, the solution to meet your explicit needs. And I agree with you. I think the pendulum is going the other way because, people want differentiation. They don't want to be cookie cutter.
And like you said, at the end of the day, it's choice. If clients want to go full on cloud, amen. And we know how to do it, and we've got the expertise. And Dave, back to your point, David, is we're Kubernetes based. We're able to, the flexibility is all there. You don't lose anything by being on-prem or in the cloud with the new architecture, right? It's
Right.
Really just becomes
I think it's
flow.
worth acknowledging that the large volume of our long-standing customers are not on any of these platforms yet, and
Right.
they're still running, DX in what we might call a traditional WebSphere cluster model, and that's not something that we're going to stop supporting anytime soon. I think that's vital to communicate that. What was your expression, Richard, about walking them to the cloud? Right. The idea is to provide coexistence. Some of the sessions today have talked about hybrid models where they can run some of our new services in the cloud and connect to their existing deployments. So, if it's running a mission critical application, we don't want them to destabilize that, or take risks with it. So they can add on the digital asset management solution, say, or Design Studio in the Kubernetes platform of their choice, connect it back to their existing deployment and move that as and when they're ready, right? And so, we're going to have that kind of tapering in approach, which is going to be a multi-year journey for us. Hopefully not for individual customers, but over the whole, existing and new customers. That's something that we're going to be doing for quite a while. And that kind of support path is really important to us, that we make that easy.
Great.
Well, let me ask you this, and again, another question that some folks have here and I'll go around the room again so Gary, if there's one feature, like, is there one thing that's, it doesn't have to be a feature either, because mine's not technically a feature, by the way, but what is your favorite delivery that we're doing with this latest release that we have, or feature or function?
Yeah, I think it's really coming where we're taking our ability to build and construct content and the speed with which we're able to help clients be able to do that in a better way. To me, I think that's the number one thing that I take away. And then where we're going in that light, right? And it's all built around the strength, which is the integration architecture of the platform to be able to do any of this in the first place. So to me, I think that's where I'm really keen where I think our clients are going to get really significant value is in terms of what we're progressing.
Excellent. Andrew, how about you?
I think there's lots of great pieces. I mean, I think now we've very clearly sort of put a flag out and talked about the direction we're going in. And Gary, you mentioned it more in the sort of composable direction. I think you can see the threads of what David and the team have been building in terms of modularizing the architecture, right? So, the fact that Design Studio, great new user experience, in and of itself builds on what was done with Dan, but it's all REST API enabled, right? So, we're putting all of the ingredients in place to be able to blow this up. I think there's lots of great stuff, but, even down to the fact that we've made it much easier to put stuff into production. And even the fact is we made it easier for allow people to be able to manage multiple localized sites, which is something that people have wanted to do for a long period of time. May not be the biggest headline thing, but it's one of those things you just need to do.
David, you touched on mine, Andrew. I think it's just the direction we're going. It's less a feature, but it's more the investment in the direction we're going in the user experience.
Yeah.
It feels, looks simpler, more intuitive. And for me, at least, I think, we're just at the beginning of that, right? Which makes me even more excited about where we can actually take this over the next couple releases. Yeah. Dave, what about you? What's your
Well, you asked me to pick my favorite children here, because I guess I know all these features. By the way, it's the girl. No, I hope she's not nearby, actually. So, I mean, there's, as Andrew said, there's lots of good things at every level that we're doing. I'm going to single out Design Studio, right? Yeah. And I'm going to single out Design Studio because it's a piece of the product in that website composition, which is something that's been holding DX back, I think, for a very long time. And the way the team has pulled that off in 6 months or so, I think it's 6-8 months work there, is nothing short of phenomenal. It's a really revolutionary capability for the product. It stands out compared to all the competition. It's underpinned by a fantastic set of REST APIs, which will benefit people even who don't roll out Design Studio, right? So for me, Design Studio is absolutely full of promise for what it can do. It's just a preview right now, just a preview. But even then, it's already offering new functionality that we've never had in DX before. So, I'm actually pretty excited about that one. And I could give an equally lengthy answer for, our Helm solutions and for the multilingual thing. And there's a whole bunch of things that we're doing that are really exciting. But if you give me one answer, let's pick on that one, because I think it's the one that's going to see us to the future. And you could imagine that leading into a future modularization story and so on, which is really the future of the product in this Kubernetes architecture.
Yeah, it's really laying the foundation, right, at this point, which is
incredible. Well, absolutely.
Yeah. And if you ask me why that matters the most, if I could maybe attempt to summarize the brilliance of what you guys said, I think why it matters is if you think about the demos we showed and these experiences, again, you're going into your healthcare site, you're going into your banking site, you're there to do something specifically. And it goes back to this trust thing. You've got to nail the content there. You've got to nail that experience. It's got to be straightforward. Tools like this are going to help our clients make it more elegant, more relevant. And it matters because when you go in to do something, you get one shot to get that right. If you go into a trusted healthcare portal to search for something, to find something about treatments or care, or any of this other stuff, and it doesn't work, you're probably not going to go back. And so that's the thing with really, right, building relevant, purposeful content surrounded by this complexity that we solve for. Try to Google search a medical condition. Anybody that's ever tried to do that, or a symptom, it's the scariest thing in the world. They want to go to these trusted sites. And I think it's our job to make it much easier to put that content together, right, and be able to bring the power of, the integration all to bear in one site. And people are expecting it more. Look at all the booming use of telehealth, right? Engaging with doctors in new and different ways. We're at the tip of this iceberg in terms of a whole new set of expectations.
Gary, and experience are just becoming more and more table stakes and relevant than ever before. Maybe before we wrap up, like a last question for each one of you, and I'll say mine as well, obviously. But what are you excited about for the future? Right? I think we talked a bit about, a little bit of a retrospective of kind of where we've come and the journey that we're on. We gave some insights into our views on this great release that the team has worked through in a very challenging time, by the way, and have done an amazing job releasing the product. But what do you folks think for the future? Like, are there a couple things that stand out for you?
Other than the end of the day where I'm going to have a cocktail? Or other than that?
How far? Talking about something new, Gary, not something that happens regularly, right?
Yeah, stay focused on the quarter. I'm okay with that. I think for me, at least, I think the product and the direction and the market we're in is just so important right now, right? When you think about digital disruption and is what occurred in the last 12 to 18 months and how relevant enabling your customers and your employees to have great, amazing, and simple experiences so you can enable them, empower them, and engage them. I think we're, from a portfolio perspective with DX and other aspects, we're positioned very well to continue to help companies along their journey, but get ready for what we think is that next wave where it's going to be more around digital first, and digital's going to become more and more relevant. So I feel like from the investments we're making in the team, the work we can still do to get better, and just where we're positioned, I feel like the future's, very, very positive for us. But with that, I'd love to hear all your perspectives as well.
Let's go back along the line, I guess. So I'm going to pick out a single capability as well, just like last time. So this morning I talked about there was a round chart with the DX MX convergence. I think one of the things that really gets me excited there is Foundry, which is the middleware API integration orchestration part of MX, and it's just a fantastic, super powerful capability. And I think if you combine that with the capabilities that DX has, so in whether it's content management, asset management, or design studio, I think you get something which is really going to stand out in the market. So I'm just super excited to get started on bringing that into the fold and making it available to DX customers somehow. Andrew, you're going to have to tell us how we do that. But I think that's something which our customers are really going to value. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Like,
yeah, I think I was going to say something similar, David, right? Because I know no, it's all good. At least it shows we're on the same page, right? I think that's one part of it. I think, Richard, you talked about the maturity of, digital leaders and what they're doing in the space. And, I think, DX has always had a unique take on how you solve that problem. And what gets me really excited is, we've got a lot of the ingredients. Foundry is one of them. Another one is actually working, we have a full MarTech stack, we have commerce, and, we're bringing some new thinking about, what does it mean to build a digital experience and a customer journey for companies. So I think we all have the right ingredients, and over the next couple of years, you'll see us sort of changing things, because I think the market is ripe for new thinking, and we've had these sort of separate MXDP silos, CMS, and portal silos, and time now is to sort of think about it from layers of saying, all right, well, I'm the marketer, I have a problem to solve. What's the experience I need to be able to reach those people? How do I redefine that engagement? And I think I can't think of another player who has the same treasure trove of pieces to be able to make this puzzle come together. So for me, it's an exciting opportunity and a ride. So
Excellent.
Expect great things from us.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And Gary?
Well, I'm going to pivot away from the product for a second, and what I'm excited about is the people. This team. There is so much energy and passion from a lot of the new go-to-market sales and technical advisors that we have, to our services team, to our design and studio team, that I'm just so excited to be able to go into a client, and that our business supports this, and invest heavily to figure out what is the problem you're trying to solve, and then use all this new capability to then express it. So some of the exciting things that I'm blown away with what we're constructing around new latent need demos that are solving problems that maybe a healthcare client hadn't solved for. Like, for example, caregiver engagement. How do we treat caregivers to support, family members, and that intersection of patient to caregiver to provider, to, like I said earlier, banking Gen Z. How do you engage them differently through this experience, to mortgage processing? It's to dealers and distributors who maybe their field sales forces have been either crushed because of COVID, unfortunately, or a whole new model has emerged. Us going in to be able to sit with clients at no charge and bring, almost 300 years of digital agency experience to think through the problem space, and then show you how the product works to do it. That's what excites me, because we connect the dots. And then I think what's really cool is for Andrew, David, and really Mike Rowe, our entire offering management team and product management team, we then bring those requirements back to you guys. You get real life examples of what our clients are saying, and that informs the roadmap. So that the beauty of being able to connect those dots, that's why I'm here. That's why our entire team is here. And some of the new folks that have joined a lot of our folks that were here since day one. We've got a great composition of people and skills, very diverse. We look forward to bringing them to each of our clients.
Excellent. I like it. I love the energy, for sure.
It's fun.
Well, I think we're now gonna, folks, transition. Are we going to transition to the?
I think so. I think we have a couple of pieces
accelerators as well. Some of the cool programs that we have set up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the things that, since I took this role on, obviously working closely with all of you on, what is the North Star and what is the roadmap, and doing that outside in thinking, it's really sort of thinking about how do we give more to the community. And we're very excited about one of the first steps in that journey. I know Gary and your team are, and that's to launch the first DX technical enablement course available on HCL's brand new LMS system, right? We certainly had these things in the past, but I think this is the first step in a journey to build a complete community experience for our DX community and offer to them the resources they need to learn more about the product and exciting new ways to do things. So please put your camera up against it and go and check it out and let us know what you think.
It works
You've done
great.
it already.
I've already registered.
Okay, fantastic. All right.
All right, and I think we want to also talk a little bit about the Accelerator program, Gary, if you want to give some highlights there.
Yeah, and a lot of what I was just mentioning, this is really about how they're accelerating time to value for the solution as I was describing. There's really 3 sets of these levels of engagement we can do. And I'm trying to get away from kind of that workshop model, which can be very heavy and very time consuming. What we're trying to do is if we spend even 30 minutes together with a client to an hour, we can come in with researched points of view as to your business problem and maybe areas you may want to think about. And then we can then from that pick out, okay, what MVPs or POCs or things could we do with you to show you how you can get more value out of maybe bringing up an employee engagement experience. Maybe you're using the platform already for around a dealer experience, but what about your employees? There's all kinds of facets we can work with you on at that level. Then down to the next level, right? Whether it's cloud and you want to understand how to move into the cloud or how to take advantage of some of the new capabilities around Kubernetes, if that applies to you. We can run those kind of workshops to migration sessions that we could do with you and show you best practices. Down to just overall value realization against how you're using the solution today. Maybe you need to upgrade, or more importantly, maybe you've got some new projects in your scope that you want to look at. Will let us come in and help explain how DX can help you power that with some of the new capability that we have. And then we have a whole program around trying to help our clients track towards using some of the new capabilities, what we're calling our adoption program, right? Which is really helping and tracking and working with you on if you're going to deploy some of this new stuff, you get a feeling for, okay, how it works and how to best use it. And this is open for our partners to do with us, with our clients. It's open to our partners directly if they're working with clients. It doesn't matter, right? We're just here to try to express some value back. And I'll close with it ties into our relationship beyond the contract theme, right? I think the software vendors should provide more than just a CD. That dates me, or a digital download of a software product. We should provide a point of view because we see a lot of things, and so these sessions are meant to do just that.
Awesome. Look, for the folks that are on the line here, please take us up on it. My favorite one I know is definitely, and we all talk about this quite a bit on the call, is the Kubernetes workshops and better understanding the opportunities there. So, well, I think we are at our wrap-up time, folks. That went by very, very quickly. Just maybe in summary, and I'd love to hear from both of you as well, is just, it's been a 2.5-year journey. It really hasn't been that long for this product and its transition over to HCL. I can tell you from, in the company, we've continued to make investments and deliver on our commitments. This release is just one example of that, by the way. And as you heard throughout the day and what you've heard from all of us is really this is just the beginning. We have an amazing opportunity ahead of us, and we are really, really hopeful that you'll come along with us on this journey. So Andrew, Gary, David, I think we might have lost your video, but gentlemen, any other wrap-up comments, and we'll go from there.
I think you said it for me, Richard. You said it perfectly, right? Yeah, it's time to get very excited about what's happening here, and engage with us, right? This has been a whole day of very high-touch engagement, and I'm sure when we can all get together again face-to-face, we'll do things to increase the level of engagement and actually show you what we're working on, right? And speak to Gary and his team of experts.
Yeah, and I just want to thank everyone that attended and has really went through the details here with us. And to those watching this, after the fact, thank you for that. Thank you for your business and trust in us delivering towards your business goals. And I think if you see any one thing, you'll see from everyone that you meet with in our organization, top to bottom, everywhere, we're all committed to this with deep passion, deep infinite curiosity, and asking questions and coming with answers. That's our focus. That's our mantra. That's who we are. And we just appreciate the opportunity to be able to do these things with you.
Excellent. All righty. Thank you. Thank you again. And we will call it a day at this point. Thank you.
Have a great June 30th, everybody. And for those not June 30th, off we go. Thank you.